welcome back to another episode with Fight Night Picks. As always, we're brought to you by SimBody. Vertiball is now SimBody. If you head on over to their website, simbody.com, you're going to get all the great products that you know and love, including the SimBody Vertiroller and the Vertiball that you have seen most likely here in studio. Look at that. Place it, lock it, attach it, Vertiball, all sorts of great stuff over there if you want to roll out those old tired muscles and you don't want to go with that old lacrosse ball. They're also coming out with that very new product that you can see right in front of you. And if I head on over to my cart, look at that. I've already got a Vertiball over there. A little bit of a deal right there. And if you hit the try for 60 days risk-free, use the promo code FNP and you're going to get 10% off your order. With that code FNP at simbody.com, you're really helping out another local company here in New Brunswick, Canada. Can't wait for it. The new name, SimBody at simbody.com. And as we always say, let's get into it. Boy, just like that. Look, it's Manon Fiorot. We're getting set for UFC 280, the main card coming up at the conclusion of our last prelim. The featured prelim, the main event of the prelims. Belal Muhammad taking on Sean Brady. But as always, one half of your hosting duo, Craig Allen FNP, Twitter and Instagram. With me to my left, to your right, Matt Allen, respective socials. And we've had a gamut of prelims. They've been very good. Definitely haven't lived up to the expectation of card of the year, but we do have a barn burner of a fight in the welterweight division taking place right now. And for Pulse Reloaded saying getting into it while the card is still on, we always do because you never know how quickly the prelims are going to take place. And you always get a chance to recap before the card kicks off because sometimes those main cards, they like to just get hot and heavy with the action. But Belal Muhammad looks like he could be
a good right hit there.
A stunt double in a boxing movie. And if you look at it for Sean Brady, he has been able to land on some of these counter shots. They're showing you the leg strikes from Brady, but hasn't really seemed to disturb the movement of Muhammad, who's moving forward quite well.
I would say the last minute, though, Brady's had a lot more success. I'm going to be really interested, though, to see as the fight goes on, will Brady still have the sting on the end of his punches? Because Belal's definitely landing more shots, I would say, but I would say the harder shots are probably landed by Sean Brady. And Brady, if he can keep that sting on the end of his shots, it will keep this fight very interesting as it goes late. But let's say he does start to lose a little bit of that power. That's when Belal might be able to take over.
Well, I'm very interested to see how the nose that's been reconstructed there from Sean Brady, how it's able to hold up. You saw it get stung in his last fight. Really nice left for Sean Brady against Muhammad, but Muhammad doing a good job of keeping his defenses, keeping his head cocked back, and takedown attempt from Brady. Great takedown defense in this fight from Belal Muhammad.
This is a good example of one of those fights where you know both guys specialize with their grappling, but since they're both so good at their grappling, it just results in a striking battle. But the good thing about both these guys are, it's not like they're a fish out of water on the feet with their striking. Both guys very effective, moving forwards and backwards. I thought Belal was going to have a lot more success on the feet, if I'm being honest. Not saying he isn't winning these rounds. I thought he won the first round. I think he's probably winning this round, although I do think it's been really close up until this point. We still have 2 minutes left. So, just a really fun fight so far. Yeah. And an important fight, too, for the division, not to cut you off.
Brady doing a lot better in this round, landing some of these power shots. But for Belal Muhammad, he has Brady all reddened up, and it looked like that shot, that last one, could have hurt Brady.
I think he... Perhaps.
Minute and a half remains. Brady in on a takedown attempt and just completely...
Good body shot by Belal.
Completely, defended it. Malone Hart, wait, didn't y'all get so much heat for picking Belal Muhammad?
We did.
That's the way that it happens on this channel. You know it.
I mean, let's not... Sean Brady's not out of this fight by any means. Let's not counter chickens before they've hatched.
No, and true. And as far as that first round was concerned, really nice leg kick there from Sean Brady.
He hit him with a punch, too, as he was getting up. That eye of Belal's starting to get swollen.
Really good shot there from Brady. And he's moving forward with some ferocity here.
This is a close round. I think the first round Muhammad did a really good job the last 60 seconds. I guess he had a couple really nice flurries, but I'm having a hard time picking this round unless he hurt Brady right there.
Muhammad's going after it.
Brady might be stunned up against the cage. Gotta watch out for the counter shots from Sean Brady. He does have big power, but Muhammad's really catching.
Muhammad doing a really good job here at the end of this round. Look at the uppercut there from Muhammad.
Yeah, he stunned him with one punch, and the flurry's really been coming ever since.
Basaki's in on the action. If he doesn't defend himself, he might end this one.
I think Brady's still in this, but it is not looking great for him.
Big right hand there from Muhammad. He's got about 25 seconds.
Nice uppercut by Belal Muhammad. Really good shot selection as he's going for the finish.
No answers here from Sean Brady. We'll see if the referee decides to end the fight. 15 seconds.
Yeah,
that's it!
Stop it. Wow. Standing
Belal
Muhammad.
Belal Muhammad with the win. Holy smokes there
stoppage
for Muhammad.
I'm sorry, there was that guy in the chat earlier who kept on saying I've trained with both of them, and if you pick Belal Muhammad, it's you're throwing money out the window. No, Belal Muhammad's really good. Like, I don't know why people tried to discredit his win against Vicente Luque, because it really did feel like a bunch of people immediately didn't give him credit for the win. They tried to discredit the performance, and I really thought they didn't give him his fair due based off that performance. And it's really nice to see he's still making those improvements later on into his career.
We all saw how the first fight went between Muhammad and, of course, the now champion Leon Edwards. And I know Kamaru Usman, he was in that GOAT conversation. That's what they were trying to do before his last fight against Edwards.
I mean, he was getting close.
Yeah, exactly. And, of course, we saw how the fight ended. But for Belal Muhammad, you have to think he's somewhere in the wings of the next title shot and a rematch against Edwards. We know how the fight went. Edwards was all over him in that fight, but he's put together a nice win streak since losing that one.
I think they just announced Colby Covington versus Khamzat Chimaev, though. And unless they are able to get Belal Muhammad in there really quick to fight the winner of Usman versus Leon Edwards really fast, I think that might be difficult to pull off, because that's the weird thing about this fight. Not that it's not a great win for Belal Muhammad, I just don't know how much further up the division it puts him. I think it does put him with some of the elite fighters of the division. I still think he might be one away, though. Listen, I'd be happy to see him get the title shot. I agree with you. The run that he's gone on has been really spectacular. Just, there's so many good fighters in this welterweight division right now, and you hate to say this, but I think we both know it's the truth. There's some money fights in the division too, and I feel like that could hold some of this up based on some of the matchups. But let's say Belal Muhammad's next fight is let's say it's a stock building fight against a Jorge Masvidal. They bring Masvidal back. They go, okay, if Masvidal wins, it's a great excuse to be able to throw him back in a title shot or the title picture. And if Muhammad beats Masvidal, it just gets him that many more fans and gives him that much better of an excuse to get in there for a title shot. I think that might be what's next for him.
Well, I mean, we have a look at the entirety of this card, and if you go down through the list, you had Abubakar Nurmagomedov getting the win over Omar Gadzhiev. You also have Belal Muhammad beating Sean Brady. I mean, Coach Habib 2-0 on the night. You like to see that.
He did look pretty good. That's the thing. Like, there's videos that always come out from, like, AKA fighters and they're training and whatnot. And I don't know if you've seen this one, but it's all these fighters coming down a hallway. They're like, he's crazy. Like, this guy's different. And it's Habib who's, like, not even in world championship shape right now. I'm sure he's still in amazing shape. But it's just him, like, walking around being like, work harder, guys. Like, it's not enough. Like, you hate to say, oh, he's built different, because the fighter always loses when you hear them say that, but Habib would be a phenomenal coach. Like, the amount of knowledge that guy has about MMA he has forgotten more about MMA than most people will ever know, so.
I mean, listen, a big-time win for Belal Muhammad feels bigger than even his main event win over Vicente Luque in the rematch of their original fight. But we flip the page and we have a look at the main card, UFC 280. Thanks so much for joining in. And as you know, we're going to sync up when the fights go live. So I'll just do that right now. We get that 5-minute timer when the fights begin.
Awesome. I'm sorry. That was really cool by Belal Muhammad.
We get the opportunity to pause the action if there's a nut shot, if there's a cup check, same deal. If there's a fence grab, but of course the referees tonight letting it slide like the Goo Goo Dolls. They're just doing a weird job of it so far, but we have that opportunity, and then as the fight goes on, to continue. But Matt, we have a big-time card coming up today. Craig Hart saying, on y'all's advice, I went from not betting to betting on Muhammad.
Nice.
Thanks, guys. Craig Hart, good job. We have a look at this one. Alan Joban giving the props there on the Tweeterverse. And we continue up through this card. And Matt, our first fight on the main card, Katlyn Chookagian and Manon. And Matt, for Manon, we caught a lot of flack on the show. Manon Fiorot.
Okay, Craig, if one person comes after you, I would say it's a lot of flack.
There's always quite a few. But when you have a look at this matchup, Matt, for Chookagian, misses the weight, and that was a bit of a surprise. Now, I know she's been a fighter at bantamweight in her UFC tenure. She's been down at flyweight for some time, 11-4 in the UFC. She's 2-2 as an underdog in those pairings that she's had, and those have all been since she fought the champ, and it's kind of weird because she's an underdog in this matchup against Fiorot, and then she goes to missing the weight here. It's just the odds and the cards are really stacked against her now.
It's not promising, and I think you can tell two different stories based on the fight and based off the circumstances that you had brought up. I think about guys like Jamal Moshburn was pretty sick. I don't know if you guys remember who Jamal Moshburn was, but he was awesome back in the day. Steve Francis is the example I want to use, because Steve Francis was awesome. Steve Francis was awesome until he wasn't, because you know what happened? Knee injuries in the early 2000s. For some reason, no doctor in the world knew how to fix an ACL up until like 2011, I'd say. So a lot of athletes suffered an early fate, if you will, and lost a lot of their career. I'm not saying Katlyn Chookagian suffered a really bad injury, and now we're seeing a decline. But for some athletes, it does kind of happen overnight. Not everybody ages gracefully out of the sport. And I'm not saying Katlyn Chookagian's the oldest fighter of all time, but there is an argument to be made for that she's past her prime, at least on a certain point. This is a fighter who has good wins at 135, fought at 125 for a very long time, is one of the more recognizable names, and is one of those names that always gets brought up with like most wins in the division, stuff like that. She's a record holder in a lot of different categories. So Chookagian's been around, she's done that. But go back to like the Andrade performance. That was like two #1 contenders going against each other. That was a fight where both athletes had a lot to prove. Jessica Andrade went in there and showed no respect whatsoever for just the punching power and the overall striking for Katlyn Chookagian. And not that Manon Fiorot is the type of striker that Jessica Andrade is. Andrade is smaller, but let's be honest, she probably hits a whole hell of a lot harder because she puts everything into
her body shot. Just whoop.
And like, remember the Carolina knockout where she goes body, head, and Carolina just falls like borderline lifelessly to the ground? It's terrifying stuff. Manon's a lot more technical with her striking. She's not going to overextend like Andrade will, but I think she could take a lot from that game plan where she just gets into the pocket and tries to throw her own power shots.
Malone Hart saying, if I were y'all, I'd be taunting the people for giving a hard time about that Muhammad pick. When you
I'm
make
better than that.
Yeah, when you make hundreds of picks and you do something like that, it comes back to bite you on the next one. So you just keep your head held high and you enjoy it as we move forward with the fights. Phoenix saying if Muhammad fights like that against Leon, he could be the new champion.
And that's what I mean. For instance, I put some money on Bilal Muhammad. I didn't say it on the channel or anything. I told you guys you should pick Bilal Muhammad. So there, I'm the one who can benefit off of that, and the people who didn't want to listen to us didn't.
We look at the next pairing, and you have Beneil Dariush take on Mateusz Gamrot, a fight that has high importance in the lightweight division. Of course, none higher than our main event map, but I'll switch it on over to the regular view because we'll get a chance to look at you and talk to you. If you look at it for Beneil Dariush, he had such a big win over Tony Ferguson that people might forget about it, and if they just look at the numbers on the page, it was about a year and a half ago. For Ferguson, very lengthy losing streak since that point, but if you look at it, the way that Oliveira beat him, the blueprint, the way that Dariush beat him, okay, now we have some question marks. He looked good against Chandler in the first round, he gets finished, and then at 170 pounds, didn't look all that great, did Tony Ferguson. But Matt, we do have a look at this one, and for Dariush, great ground game that you don't necessarily see fight in, fight out. His striking is very good. Great zip on his punches. Great punching power. Eager to see how the leg stands up in this one because, of course, broke his fibula, had the ankle injury as a result, was out of his fight against Islam Makhachev in a main event. We had to pivot really quickly.
That would have been a great fight, too.
Just before the fights, because we were getting ready for that one, and then in steps Bobby Green, who's somehow no longer with the promotion anymore. He'll be back again one day. But when we do look at this one, Matt, two premier guys that really do have some great wrestling to go along with their skill sets. And for Mateusz Gamrot, freestyle wrestling, ADCC European grappling champion. As recently as 2019, he's been competing in a lot of different grappling tournaments throughout his career. Former KSW double champ. I love the fight.
I think it's an incredible fight, and I'm really curious to see how much success Gamrot can have on the mat with a guy like Dariush, because like you had mentioned, Dariush is a phenomenal grappler, but it's not necessarily at the forefront of his game, so it can get overshadowed by how hectic of a striker he is, by how chaotic of a striker he is, but I do feel like he's going to offer a lot of problems for Gamrot once this fight does hit the mat. I know we saw Michael Chiesa have success against Dariush with his grappling, but that's Michael Chiesa. He's one of the best grapplers in the division, and up a division too, if we're being completely honest. So the fact that he does have a submission loss in his record to a guy like Chiesa doesn't completely distort my view of his grappling, and I do think he's going to offer a lot of trouble for Gamrot, because you have to think, Gamrot was able to out-wrestle Arman, or at least have a lot of equal exchanges in the wrestling in that fight. I don't think Dariush is going to be as competitive in some of the pure wrestling exchanges, but I think once the fight hits the mat, he's going to be good defensively, and he's going to be able to get back up to his feet, and I'm really curious to see just how durable Dariush is going to be after the layoff, because let's be honest, there was a storyline where Dariush was a little chinny for a little part of his career. He's got into a lot of firefights since that, so a lot of people have forgot that. I think it's a great fight no matter what.
And a couple of things on this. Phoenix saying Bobby Green isn't cut.
Exactly.
He's off the active roster. But Alir Latifi's off because he's a free agent. That's why Latifi's off. But if you do consider this fight and the importance in this division, you touched on the Arman Tsarukyan comparison, and in the scrambles, a lot of speed and depth between Mateusz Gamrot. Beneil Dariush isn't necessarily as speedy, but his top pressure is very good. He's no Caio Borralho when he gets mounted.
And he's got those like awkward pullback shots where he looks like an old-timey parlor boxer. But the thing about Dariush is you kind of forget how technical all of his striking is. He can throw in combination, he can throw the single shot, he's got nice kicks, he can move forwards and backwards. It might not be the most eye-catching of styles. He's not a Yair Rodriguez, he's not a Max Holloway, but the foundational skill set of Beneil Dariush is really high level. That's why I said in question mark kicks, I really like it when promising contenders fight a guy like Dariush. He's good everywhere, he's going to test you at everything we think you're good at, and that's why I think this is such a fun fight. But just last thing on this. This is a weird fight because the winner is just going to, I think, stay where they are in the division, if you will. They might move up a little bit, but I think the loser has a lot to lose. Like, I really do feel like it's a low reward, large risk type of a fight.
It really is a tough one. That you saw TJ Dillashaw making the walk with an all-star corner of Tiki Gosen and Juan Archuleta. I love Tiki Gosen as a coach because he just shouts and doesn't stop.
He's like, very loud.
Be like having it's like Devin Clark's dad in the corner. He just never stops. Phoenix and Chris P. Bilal, remember the early stoppage, Muhammad. Yeah,
he didn't flatline him, but it was like, there was about 25 unanswered shots.
Yeah, Brandon LeBlanc with the I sat in those chairs. Yes, you did, Brandon. You were here for a fight night not that long ago, and I'm glad to see you over there in the chat. Matt Piotr Jan taking on Sugar Sean O'Malley. This is a great matchup. And for Sean O'Malley, I mentioned it all week, the significance of the fact that he's in those all-time rankings for his striking acumen, and we've seen it against very lower levels of competition. Chris Mutino, he beat Teco Quinones, who was in the finale of an Ultimate Fighter.
So one-sided.
Coming all the way up to that no contest against Pedro Munoz, and I see a lot of people are really bullish on the fact that Munoz, all he did was land leg kicks. O'Malley checked some of them. Regardless, O'Malley started to flow in the second round. You have to think if second round went as it did into a third round, O'Malley was cruising to a victory, but we'll never know due to that no contest, the eye poke. It is what it is. But when we have a look at this fight, Matt, for Piotr Jan, he's had fights where he's withstood adversity. We touched on it at the start of the week. The fight against John Dodson where he gets a little bit rocked. The fight against Jin Susan where you're kind of given one to take one and you're winning out. But realistically, for Piotr Jan, he had his coming out party in the title fight against one of the biggest names that you've seen in the UFC. The GOAT at featherweight, it was Jose Aldo, the recently retired future Hall of Famer. And for Piotr Jan, he looked amazing in finishing that fight. And after that, obviously you have the illegal knee. Then you have the loss where he got backpacked and ragdolled, well, at least backpacked and ragdolled wasn't the word I was looking for. I was going to look for rode hard, but he got rode hard by Aljamain Sterling in that one. I think this is a great opportunity. I'm eager to see the grappling. People at the start of the week were, again, you talk bullish. They didn't want to hear any of that. They hated the video for that reason, but if we get grappling, folks, that's going to be fun because it's something that we don't always see out of Sean O'Malley. That's what I want.
I think we get grappling, though it will be one-sided. I know this is going to sound weird based on the last performance Piotr Jan had, but if you forget the second fight he had against Aljamain Sterling, his grappling's been pretty good, folks. He can defend takedowns like almost a prime Jose Aldo can. He's got great balance, really good hip awareness, really great balance, like I just said. And he does have great ground and pound himself. He's a very top dominant fighter. When he gets that top control, he's got great ground and pound. He can go for submissions, and he gets into dominant positions. He's not just going to wait in the full guard and just sort of, wait for time to take off the clock. He's going to get into your half guard. He's going to get into side control. He's going to get into that crucifix position, and I really do think if it does hit the mat, he has a lot more to offer than Sean O'Malley does. Now, if O'Malley is able to rock Piotr Jan, I can't believe I'm about to compare him to this fighter because he is leaps and bounds better than him. But our boy Carl Robertson, like if he can hurt him and then submit him, because that's the thing about Robertson, he has a lot of submission wins on his record for a guy who is primarily known for his kickboxing. I think O'Malley can have success with his grappling if he's able to do it under those circumstances. But I think this fight on the feet is going to be as good as any fight on the card. I think the boxing of Petr Yan against the rangy and very unique style of striking that Sean O'Malley possesses is going to be very fun because, like Sean O'Malley said, like, Sean O'Malley has never fought anybody like Petr Yan at all. No one with the amount of experience he's had, with the defensive movement he's had. It's just impossible. But also, I don't think Petr Yan's fought a lot of guys who are exactly like Sean O'Malley. I know Corey Sandhagen to a certain degree.
About the only one.
He's a rangier striker, but the thing about O'Malley is he's really fast in and out. He uses his movement so well. I just think this is an incredible fight. I know it's a big step up in competition for Sean O'Malley, but I really do think this is as good of any fight as you could give him if you want to just throw him into the deep end of the pool.
And once you see O'Malley kind of just figuring out his distance, which he's able to do very, very quickly compared to a lot of the fighters that you're going to see just in the total of MMA, he really does get a lot of damage going, and he likes to hit that jab really quick to the body, back up, and then just roll with the punches to the head. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun as it does go down, and I wish it was a 5-round fight, especially due to the fact that, listen, Robbie Lawler, Nick Diaz was a 5-round fight. It'd be great if we had 5 rounds between these two guys. We'll switch it on over, and we'll have a look at Aljamain Sterling, TJ Dillashaw. Listen, Dalla Billashaw's got a great opportunity.
Karen Bryant's fired up.
And again, stylistically for these two guys, it is such a good matchup. As the week went on, I heard a lot of great points for Dillashaw, and I really do see that in this fight. I mean, you look at Dillashaw and the fact that he can switch stances on the forward movement. He does it a lot differently than a guy like Jorge Masvidal is able to do. We see that kind of like switch kick into his punches, and if you're a guy, or if you're a fan of somebody like TJ Dillashaw, you like to see how he's able to mix it up top, threaten with his takedown defense as level changes. For Dillashaw, he really can get rolling with a lot of those different things. Now, when we do look at both these guys, the kicking game from Dillashaw, you might see it to all 3 levels. For Aljamain Sterling, doesn't really go to the head.
He doesn't.
As rangy,
much more labored too.
Yeah, as rangy as he is. But when you consider these two guys, for Dillashaw, the takedowns, the ground and pound. For Sterling, it's more to work in his jiu-jitsu once it does hit the mat. I love the matchup. I think it's very, very high level. Of course, it's co-main event of a title fight, but you really do have a good fight on paper for this one.
It's an extremely skilled fight in the bantamweight division, and it should result in a really fun one, too, because that's the unique thing about TJ Dillashaw. And listen, I dislike him for a lot of the reasons you guys do. Listen, if you fail a drug test, that's bad. Don't do it. It's really bad. But for Dillashaw, he's a very fun fighter to watch, even when he had the belt. He wasn't a guy who fought in a safe manner, even though he had become champ. We see that a lot in the UFC. Like, George St. Pierre is my favorite fighter of all time. I think he's the greatest fighter of all time. But let's be completely honest. He got the belt and started fighting in a slightly more safe manner. He also tore his ACL along the way, and it took a little bit away from him. But still, Dillashaw never was affected by that. He was still getting into very fun firefights when he was the UFC champion. And I think he's going to still maintain that same style in this fight against Aljamain Sterling. I really think he's going to go for it, be aggressive on the feet. I think he's going to have to be, because Aljamain Sterling's so effective on the mat that if he gets it there for 1, 2, 3 minutes in a round, that's going to be enough to make TJ Dillashaw fight in. Maybe desperate's not the right word, because that would be very uncharacteristic of Dillashaw, but you get the idea. It's going to force him to be a lot more aggressive, maybe force him to be a different fighter than he traditionally would, because he is a very technical fighter from the outside. I think it's just one of those good fights where it doesn't matter if it's on the mat, in the clinch, on the feet. It's going to be fun to watch no matter what.
Well, and the craziest part about it for Dillashaw, obviously he had the 2 runs as the bantamweight champ. First one ended by Dominic Cruz, second one ended by EPO, but if you do look at it for Dillashaw, you go for the 5-on-in, beats John Lineker by decision. 5 years and 9 months ago, beats Cody Garbrandt 4 years, 11 months ago, then 4 years and 2 months. And then if you look at it, the fight against Henry Cejudo, it's been 3 years, almost 4 years since ESPN came in with the UFC. For Sterling, his 5th to last fight against Jimmy Rivera 3 years and 7 months ago. And it's been a long time since that fight, but that is a little bit of a comparable to the fight against TJ Dillashaw.
Weird question, because I just thought of it. Does what happened in Marlon Vera versus Dominic Cruz change your opinion of this fight at all? Just seeing a guy from that era fighting one of the more modern fighters, I guess. I know Sterling and Vera aren't very similar in those aspects. Like, Vera's this thunderous puncher, is a really good kickboxer, and Sterling's much more of a grappler. We get the idea, just sort of an in with the new, out with the old mentality.
It is hard to say, and I mean, for Dillashaw, he's one of those 36-year-olds that's been in the game for so long. Like, he's been around the UFC for so long. Not to say that Sterling hasn't, but to me, I don't know if we're going to see a Dillashaw that's lost a step. I can't honestly say it. Obviously, he had the knee woes in the fight, even with Sandhagen, has to recover from those. But if you get 100% TJ Dillashaw, And who knows if at 36 you still get 100% Dillashaw. If you get that guy versus Aljamain Sterling, that's a very, very close fight, which the odds don't necessarily suggest in this one. Like, Aljamain Sterling's a pretty beefy favorite in this one. I'll refresh the odds just so we can talk about them. But Sterling open to minus 220. You could have got him at minus 155. He's now a minus 170 favorite. Dillashaw open plus 185, plus 141. So the odds have kind of come down and moved around a little bit. Brandon's saying almost 6 years since he beat Cody. Crazy. Closer to 5, I guess, but 5's close to 6. And Phoenix, as a Chris Holdsworth fan, hope TJ wakes up in the hospital. Poor Chris Holdsworth. The training was tough. Matt, we move on to our next fight.
I'm surprised fighters from AKA didn't have that happen to them. Remember all the stories that used to come out about AKA? It's like Cain Velasquez in DC just like point to the ground and go for it.
Well, I think more of like, the Lion's Den. Like back then, like you're talking like Miletich Fighting Systems and Ken Shamrock. Just putting the guys through the ringer. But Matt, our main event, Charles Oliveira, Islam Makhachev. I switched the pick on question mark kicks, and it didn't work out for me last week, so we'll see if it does.
But what was the straw that broke the camel's back? What brought you to the point of actually switching the pick, if I can ask?
It was me thinking more and more and more about Charles Oliveira and the fact that he has so many different ways to finish the fight versus Islam Makhachev. You got to take him down. You got to continue to rinse and repeat with the takedowns, and you got to get him most likely by submission. I mean, obviously Islam was able to ground and pound his way into his last win against Bobby Green, but if you look at it for Islam, you've seen big wins out of Camp Habib. Bilal Muhammad already got it done in the main event of the prelims. You also had Abubakar Nurmagomedov getting the win over Gaji. Who knows what the hell his last name is anymore. Apparently it's not Omar Gadzhiev. When I'm going through the tape and I'm watching them pronounce it in Russia, and they're saying it that way, to me that's enough, but apparently that's not the way to do it. But Matt, we're getting set for this fight. I think it's going to be a great one.
So do I.
Brandon's got Charles Oliveira in this one, and it seems like everybody's kind of split. I guess the polls here in the chat, it's not as different as it was before. 56% have Makhachev to get the win. Russ is saying Islam's going to ragdoll him, so maybe I will be wrong by the end of the Nui. But Matt, a good fight that we have in this main event.
I think it's going to be a phenomenal fight. It is weird that there is no current champion at 155, and I seen a tweet the other day, and it was like, it's been 6 years since there had actually been like a changing of the guard in a proper way in the lightweight division. That's when Conor had beat Eddie Alvarez, thank you, at 205. Huge event. That was a crazy one to watch.
We watched that one with Brandon LeBlanc that's in the chat.
But that was a really wild fight, and it's just been... lightweight division's been under so much turmoil throughout this time. I compare the UFC to boxing a lot because it's way more like it than you guys realize, I think. But the lightweight division has kind of been almost like kind of the world of boxing, if you will. There's been a lot of big stars to go along with a lot of really good fighters. And what happens is you kind of get a logjam at the top of the division because you're not just dealing with the number 5 ranked fighter fighting the number 2 ranked fighter, if you will. You're dealing with star A fighting star B, and the number next to their name matters a lot less than the followers they have on Instagram or the amount of people who watch their interviews. Like, it's just, that's the truth of this. So the lightweight division's been under this sort of weird roller coaster for this much time. Hopefully this fight gives us not only a changing of the guard, it just gives us a little bit more of a steadier division going forward because there's so many talented fighters. It would be nice to see a champion defend their title once every, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 months. That would be nice to see in a division.
It would be nice indeed. Todd Johnson hanging out here in the chat. Manon Fiorot has the longest hair extensions I think I've ever seen in my life. They are very, very apparent. And I have to wonder, is that a help or a hindrance? Because I would assume it's a hindrance.
If I went to UAE, I would be as red as your sweater in 15 minutes. Oh. I couldn't imagine how hot it is.
Oh yeah, I'm not cool about making the trip there. That would not be on my vacation plan.
But no, I just put it that way. As a man who's pale and lives in a country where it's like really dark for about 7 months out of the year, and we have winter for far too long. I couldn't imagine how poor my body is adapted to an area like that.
Well, Frosty is saying "Vive la France" over there in the chat, and we have Manon Fiorot making the walk this time out to the octagon. Now she started off her UFC tenure with big wins over Victoria Leonardo and Tabitha Ricci. Kind of a feeling out process. And Ricci wasn't the original opponent at 125 pounds, but out of those fights, you get 2 big finishes, and then it's been off to the races, so to speak. And for Fiorot, she's really doing a good job of representing France. And I know in listening to her pre-fight interview, she was kind of disappointed that she didn't get to be on that France card because French fighters really did kind of show up to show out. I know William Gomis was definitely a big winner there.
And it was one of those cards that you really really hope. Like, the atmosphere was insane at that event. You had Tai Tuivasa, Cyril Gane, which resulted in one of the best heavyweight fights we've seen in recent memory.
And FitTech Optimum saying, ils vont montrer le combat. Non, pas cette fin de semaine. But we'll see it for Fiorot. We look at the wins that she has in the UFC, and we touched on those too. But a win over Maeda Bueno Silva, where there were spots in that fight where Silva was pressing forward, doing a little bit in terms of the action. And for Jennifer Maia, I guess the big surprise to me in that fight was to see that it was Fiorot that was initiating the takedowns, getting them, and earning decent top position in a fight where you would never assume that was going to happen.
No, and I have some question marks leading up to that fight against Maia. Again, she was coming off, I would say, the lesser of her performances in the UFC up until that point was Fiorot. But she looked great against by far the best fighter she had fought up until that point. And that's what I was going to ask, because I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, not really a trivia question, but when was the last time a fighter in this division had a rise like Fiorot, where it wasn't just impressive performances, it was the finishing ability, and it was her ability to jump up so far in the division?
Would have to be the last title challenger, I would think, in Tyler Santos comes into the UFC, a little bit of a question mark, and then after the Molly McCann win, it was just off to the races for Santos. So.
I was going to say like a Macy Barber. She never reached the heights, but she was getting the stoppages. There was that hype surrounding her. It's just, this is a fight that's going to answer a lot of question marks for us. We know how good Katlyn Chookagian is. It is unfortunate that she did miss weight, so there are going to be a few red flags no matter what the result of this fight is. But again, we know what Chookagian is really good at. We know what her ceiling is in the division. Always sort of the bridesmaid, never the bride. Going to be one of those forever #1 contenders, I think.
For Chookagian, I mean, the former CFFC bantamweight and flyweight champ, she's got Mark Henry and Sijara Eubanks in the corner, so have to wonder if wrestling's going to be a focus of hers in this fight. We've seen certain fighters try and initiate into the grappling.
Well, from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Dallas hanging out from New Zealand, but if you do look at it, I mean, Corinne Laframboise was the last person that was really trying to initiate the grappling against Manon Fiorot, and that was a really accredited black belt, is Laframboise, out of Quebec, and Fiorot was able to get out of the bad positions, able to get the win in that matchup. So we look at this fight, Chookagian taking on Fiorot, Chookagian fighting down the rankings as she has to every time unless she gets a title shot. And just before we get right into it, as you know, there's going to be a little bit of a delay. We're going to have the 5-minute timer going during the fight. So as it starts, we'll throw that timer out there. We'll have the opportunity to pause it during the action, resume if there are any fouls or issues. And Matt, this is a big time fight to kick off the card where we've already got about 150 tuning in. A like is definitely appreciated, but you had some thoughts on this.
I want to get your opinion on this. I think the UFC could have easily put Manon Fiorot against Valentina Shevchenko right off of her last performance.
Yeah.
It's a shallow division. It would have been a fresh matchup. This is a dangerous fight for Fiorot, but I gotta be honest. If Fiorot, let's say, knocks out Chookagian in the first round, it might be the first time at flyweight that you can genuinely make an argument that the challenger has the chance to beat the champion. I think Jessica Andrade had a little bit of hype behind her. I might have been like the conductor of that train, because there wasn't a lot of hype behind it, but still, I thought she was going to challenge Shevchenko much more than she was able to do. But I think if Fiorot is able to get 2 legitimate wins off 2 other title challengers, I think it would put her in great line to actually fight Shevchenko and put up a good fight.
I mean, Sean Taylor 6-6 so far with the picks. Definitely appreciated for hanging out there, Sean Taylor. And when we consider this fight, Matt, and Fiorot and Chookagian, I threw it out there in that video of if anybody could chase Valentina Shevchenko. I threw out that clip of you and I talking about Andrade, and it seemed like the last big shot for somebody to beat Shevchenko. And of course, Tyler Santos proved everybody, I guess, not wrong, but surprised in the fact that she fought so well in that one. We'll see how she comes back from her injuries sustained in that fight. But for Fiorot, I mean, minus 215 favorite on the screen that we have right there, and has those hair extensions in.
She's like Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I mean, Jay Butt, new hair, new man.
He doesn't have them anymore. He got rid of them before the season started.
Old Tyler Hero, just
he's so
board
good.
Man get paid, even though he doesn't really grab any boards at all. I bet in garbage time he does.
Like, I love basketball. You guys know this. If you're really good at sports, why would you not play that? Your knees are going to be messed up when you're 40.
Look at Duncan Robinson.
Yeah, like, Tyler Hero is a really good player, don't get me wrong, but he's like a good player. He's shy of great. He's making $140 million in 4 years to just like run around and shoot the ball. MMA fighters take real damage all the time. In the NFL, you probably feel terrible after every game. Like, I couldn't imagine the punishment you put your body through. In basketball, yeah, your feet might be a little screwed up, but it's well worth it.
We have Jason Herzog in the cage. We haven't really seen Jason Herzog on this card. We get set for the first round of the first fight on in the main card. Michael Wallace, you're looking for the wrong place.
Yeah,
you're asking
we
that
ain't
question,
those
pal.
people.
Nah, this
Dana
is...
White's outside of his house, though. We've got you.
Yeah, exactly. And we get set for round number 1 between Chookagian and Manon Fiorot. It's a body kick open from Chookagian in this one. Maybe that will be a big plan of her game.
Ooh, big right hand.
Big time right hand lands for Fiorot. But Chookagian taking a page out of the playbook of Fiorot, landing these body kicks.
And I think that's going to be an effective method for her to keep distance. But on the flip side, I really thought we were going to see takedown attempts from Katlyn Chookagian. So I thought maybe she'd want to try to create less distance between them, force the separation, and go for her own takedowns.
Matt, we have a look at this fight. And if you consider it for Chookagian, trying to establish her own distance, looking to hit those shots to the body about 40 seconds into this round. And the woman that's out of the blue corner with the blue trunks here, with the hair extension, she's really been able to win out with a lot of these boxing combinations. It seems to be a lot of power at the end of these shots.
Because a lot of the ladies she goes up against just don't have the firepower to swing anything back at her. Now, Chookagian is of a different breed, if you will. She's very technical on the feet. She should be able to utilize her movement to get on the inside and the outside of the range of Fiorot, but Fiorot's really trying to march her down early.
Yeah, and some of these big-time shots from a big-time fighter here, and if you do look at it very quickly, for Chookagian trying to dip out of the way, work her own takedown, and unsuccessful in that clinch exchange.
And again, for Chookagian, really, I thought she would go for a lot more takedowns. Again, it's still early in the fight. We're only about 90 seconds into it, but I did expect her to try to force the clinch, get it to the ground.
Should be an interesting proposition because we saw it out of Chookagian in her fight against Antonina Shevchenko, the fact that maybe she didn't have a great opportunity in that one. She was actually an underdog in that fight, and it was her own offensive prowess with the grappling that won her that one. It was a bit of a surprise.
It was, and against an opponent who, again, I think Fiorot's way better than Antonina Shevchenko, don't get me wrong, but they're kind of cut from the same cloth. Still very technical strikers. Shevchenko, oddly enough, you would have assumed would have been a little bit better on the mat, even though knowing what we know now, of course, that's not the case. But again, I think this will be a really interesting fight because we're just trying to find an interesting challenger for Valentina at this point. So it's either Chookagian's able to add some massive new adjustment to her game or a new area of her game that we've never really seen, or Fiorot's able to get the win and finally become an interesting title challenger.
Rebel Reseller hanging out here and not hanging out with Jens Pulver on the UFC broadcast. But Matt, in terms of the total strikes that we do have for Manon, I mean, it's an interesting proposition. I mean, Chookagian is doing what she does in a lot of her fights, throwing a lot of volume, not necessarily landing on a lot of it, but in the eyes of the judges, you have to think that it scores favorably.
And she's an interesting fighter. Chookagian has been doing a good job landing the straight right. She's throwing it without anything in front of it, and I do feel like that's catching Fiorot off guard a little bit. But you are right. That's the thing about Chookagian. It really comes down to how much you're going to respect her punching power. Now, to be fair, again, she's been able to avoid a lot of the bigger power shots of Fiorot, and she's been able to land that straight right quite effectively. But you'd like to see her sit down a little bit more on some of these shots.
Yeah, Chookagian definitely finding her zone, and she's really found the range in this one where Fiorot, to land those bigger ones, she's having a hard time crashing that distance.
And it's hard to find your own openings to throw your own offense when your opponent's just throwing a lot of volume at you. It's not really creating a lot of openings. You don't really know, should I defend, should I throw back with my own offense? So it is making it a frustrating fight for Manon to fight.
Side kick to the body there for Fiorot. Ooh, big head kick
that
for
might have
Chookagian.
hurt Fiorot. She looked like she took a bit of an awkward step there.
That
reminded me of Piotr Jan Uriah Faber. Remember when he pulled down on his head and up-kicked him?
Yeah, big time one there from Chookagian. That's been the strike of this round so far. And a Frosty hitting up the big-time super chat with the thank you. So thank you, Frosty. That's definitely appreciated. Fiorot looking to get back into some of these exchanges here.
Fiorot's really winging that right hand wildly. It'd be nice to see her use that right hand in a jab, maybe to try to set up the left hand a little bit more.
And it did land well there for Fiorot. You had the chance, the knee there from Chookagian. Doesn't look like there was much of a land. Minute left in this round. High-pace action here at women's flyweight.
Definitely has been. I feel like Fiorot's going to have to get something back in this last minute of the round. The biggest shot was definitely landed by Chookagian. That's not a sentence I thought I'd be saying.
No, Chookagian definitely putting in some very, very good work. And we mentioned it at the start of this fight, the fact that the odds, to me, they seem quite silly, just based on the fact that you look at the body of work Chookagian's been able to put together. And style for style, she hasn't really struggled against some of these women that possess the talents that Fiorot does.
It's just one of those tough fights to tell because it's two fighters in very different positions in their career. Chookagian's been there, done that. We're kind of wondering how much she still has left, whereas Fiorot's still looking to see what her future and what her potential can be in this division. But the thing about Fiorot, she just keeps on winging that right, and it's landed a couple of times, but a lot of the times it's going off the shoulder, it's going off the inside of the chest.
Good kick to a right hand there for Chookagian. Muhammad asks if it's real. It's real, Muhammad. Closing in on the dying seconds of the round, and that's certainly a round for the former title challenger there in
I would agree.
Chookagian. So a big time one there for Chookagian. We'll have a look at the total numbers. She's ahead in terms of total strikes. You see the big right hand from Fiorot on the screen there from the Ultimate Defining Championship. And now they're showing highlights of Fiorot. We'll see if they show that big time front kick to the face. Man, that's going on. Oh, it looks like it only caught the side of the face.
She stumbled, though.
And those long braids, the hair extensions of Manon Fiorot. But a good round for both of those women, though. It seemed like Chookagian was able to figure out her range a little bit quicker.
Well, the good side, too, for the fighter not really known for her stopping power or her finishing ability to be able to at least stun her much more heavy-handed opponents. So for Fiorot, I would expect her to still be aggressive, be on the front foot in this second round. I'll be interesting to see if she now does respect the punching power of Chookagian, because let's say Fiorot now fights in a more reserved manner. Chookagian might just be able to hit her with so much volume now that the fight just gets really out of hand, but for Fiorot, I would say stay dedicated to the game plan, trying to get on the inside, still land her in power shots.
Brandon's saying it's real, man. It's real. We get set for round number 2 between Chookagian and Fiorot. Matt, I want to hear from everybody over there in the comment section. How did you judge that one sitting at home? We're getting set for round number 2, flyweight action, possible title eliminator for both of these women. I mean, unfortunate for Chookagian that she did miss weight, but coming in here, 127.5. Nice catch of the kick there from the woman in the blue trunks there, Manon Fiorot.
Manon's really trying to be active with that front foot, but the movement of Chookagian is making it really hard for her to land those kicks.
We'll see who's able to take center of the octagon. It's Chookagian pressuring forward. Not a lot. Ooh, looked like a bit of a stumble there on a right hand from Fiorot, but not as many of these side kicks to the body from Fiorot that we're used to in her fights.
She just hasn't really been able to land them. I think the movement of Chookagian is really making it difficult for her to have good accuracy with that shot. We've seen opponents have success with their movement against fighters like Holly Holm, too. Utilize that a lot.
Craig Hart's got it 10-9 for Chookagian. Pablo would like to see the Fiorot takedown. And if you do consider it for Chookagian, she has trained, of course, in the New York area quite a bit for quite some time. And you've got Mark Henry in the corner. You've, of course, got Sijara Eubanks. I know Chookagian talked quite a bit about kind of the impact of Frankie Edgar in the sport of MMA. He's got a big-time retirement fight coming out of that gym in Toms River as well. But
who is he fighting? I know he's scheduled, sorry.
Chris Gutierrez is the fight. Chris Gutierrez.
UFC weird retirement fight for Frankie Edgar.
And odd that it's on the prelims. But Fiorot looking to have a little bit of a better round here. And a couple of big-time hands land. It's the right followed by the left there for Fiorot. First minute and a half going a little bit better for her in this round.
She's doing a better job moving her head off the center line. Chookagian's not having as much success just throwing out that right hand, but still, for Fiorot, she hasn't been able to gain a lot of momentum yet. There have been some nice single shots here or there, but with her combination punching, still trying to get that going so far.
Yeah, and you consider it, I mean, fighters out of France on this card, 0-1 on the night. Omar Gadriev, as it was pronounced, not successful against Nurmagomedov, but for Fiorot, definitely having some more success here in this round. And for Chookagian, a little bit more reserved.
She has been. Again, I'm surprised neither fighter's gone for a takedown attempt up until this point. Both good at wrestling, both good with their grappling. Again, both specialized with striking.
Malone Hart with the big super chat. Y'all hit the like button if you don't mind. It helps the boys here out. It definitely does for sure. Thank you for so many super chats there today. Malone Hart halfway through this second round. Flyweight action between Chookagian and Fiorot. And in this one, again, really close round number 2. Round number 1 seems like most had it for Chookagian, the number 1 contender. And for Fiorot, it's just a lot of back and forth, and neither one of these women really able to win out in terms of the foot position and the position in the center of the cage.
There's just been a lot of 50-50 exchanges throughout this round. You're right. Neither one's really been able to separate themselves all that much. I think the scorecards, if the fight remains this way, are going to be all over the place, if we're being honest. Because again, I agree. I think Chookagian won that first round, but I don't think it was so one-sided. I guess I disagree. I think it was enough for her to win that, but round 2's been close up until this point. But as I'm saying that, Fiorot's landed some really nice power shots.
Yeah, and Fiorot Fiorot's had a lot of success finally getting that right hand to land. She couldn't get it in the first round. Landed a couple at the start, but really getting over the ear of Chookagian.
Left hand too.
Lands a nice left hand there on the exchange, and a minute 40 remaining here in this second round. Really close action.
Thing about both fighters, though, is they'll land a shot, stay in the pocket for that half second too long, and then they're both eating a counter shot as the result. And I think that's why it's so hard for either one to pull apart. Even though I do think Fiorot, at least as of right now, has been able to distance herself a little bit. If the round ended right now, it's like, oh, if the playoffs started today, would they make it? If the round ended right now, I think Fiorot might be just a hair ahead.
Yeah, and this is a really, really close fight. And if you consider it in terms of the fight of the night scale that we've had so far, I mean, Uzdemir Krylov was bonkers for the first 3 minutes of that fight. This one's at least had some sustained success.
I had fun watching Bilal Muhammad, Sean Brady.
Fiorot's doing a great job now in this round. She seems to have found her own range, zipping in and out of the exchanges and finding a lot of success in that pocket.
Oh, that was a nice one, too, by Fiorot now. She really is getting that right hand a lot more engaged as she wasn't able to do in the first round, but really competitive fight up until this point.
Oh, 100%. You're less than a minute remaining in the second. You can see the live line and the numbers there from Fiorot, and they've just kind of flipped. They were close in the first round, edging Chookagian. Second round with Francis Fiorot.
Katlyn Chookagian faking a Superman punch like she's Draymond Green.
Who did it better, GSP or Draymond Green? I mean, at least Draymond got a knockdown.
1 for 1 with a knockdown, so like he has thunderous power.
Wayne Kerr hanging out in the chat. First last saying she needs to shoot rather. 10 seconds remain.
And I'm surprised we haven't seen a takedown attempt from Chookagian in the second half of the second round, because you can tell the momentum's definitely starting to side with Manon Fiorot. I would say the strongest portion of the fight for her so far has been the second half of the second round.
And Russ and also Pablo both have it 19-19 in that round. You get some highlights here on the screen, and both women landing. But yeah, I have it split, 19-19, but interesting to see how the judges are seeing this one, because we saw earlier on, the first fight of the night, in the very first round, Lena Landsberg gets a knockdown, 2 minutes and 30 seconds of control time from Hossa, where she doesn't do anything with the control time, doesn't land any shots, and the majority of the judges scored that round for Hossa.
I'm not going to lie, Craig. We got done question mark kicks, and I went, I need a nap. I've been up for a really long time. And I did not watch that fight.
You rascal.
Listen, there's some fights that you can feel okay about.
I had it a draw, actually.
There you go. So maybe I missed something spectacular. But
round number 2 was a 9-9 with point deduction. Round number 3, Hossa. It felt like one of those ones, if you scored it in its totality, like I did threw it out there in
Pride
on Twitter, I had scored it for Hossa if it was that way, but I also had it as a draw. And now we get a look at a camera and a person in front of it.
So gross.
All right, final round. Possible title shot on the line between these two women. And we've had a very, very competitive fight. You have to say that.
We have. Not making me any more confident, though, in Fiorot's chances if she did take on Valentina. I think that's fair to say.
Oh, big time shot there on a right from Chookagian. She's looking to try and get the takedown, pressuring the action. And we saw Chookagian have a lot of success in the first round. Fiorot minus 335 on the live line. Would not feel confident on that one.
I kind of understand it just because the momentum is on her side, but you're right. I just, with it being 1 round apiece, if Chookagian can put together, a strong 3 minutes, it might be enough.
Think about the Chookagian fight against Alexis Davis. Wins the first round, loses the second round, wins the third round. I mean, you've seen it before in her overall body of work, and we see it there. A lot of 19-19s on the screen as well. Pablo talking about the odds. Phoenix saying Hossa versus Landsberg should have been 28-28. I agree with you. I mean, again, I put it out there on Twitter. It's a fight like Jonathan Martinez, Alejandro Perez, where in the first round you had a knockdown, but not all the judges scored the knockdown as a win for Perez because majority of the round was for Martinez. It was the same thing with Hossa and Landsberg.
I only acknowledge the Chad Jonathan Martinez who fights Cub Swanson.
I mean, that guy still doesn't want to call anybody out all that hard.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself, though. I would not want to fight that Jonathan Martinez.
No. Chookagian continues to pressure forward here. 3 and about a half minutes remaining in the third round of 3-round action at flyweight. Tightly contested matchup between these two women. And that minus 335 live line just seemed very strange. Ooh, the old jumping switch kick from Katlyn Chookagian.
You can tell Chookagian's trying to be a lot more aggressive in this third round. You can tell her coach has probably told her, hey, we need to win this third round. It is a very close fight. So it's nice to see her have an uptick in aggression, but she hasn't really been able to land that many overly clean shots.
Davy Grant, just a mean Brit.
Seems like a nice guy, honestly.
SBG Bishop Auckland, the man himself, Davey Grant. And again, this is another one of those rounds. A lot of volume for Chookagian, and I got to be completely honest with everybody out there. Not a lot of this is landing, but she's still at least throwing a look versus Fiorot,
who's just sort of sitting on the outside, not really doing much in, I don't want to say a defensive shell, because she is moving her hands a bit, but she does have to get a lot more active in the second half of this round if she does want to win, because this could be one of those fights where it's going to be really close, people are going to be pissed off no matter what the decision is, and then Fiorot's probably going to be mad she didn't win, but it's going to be a fight where you can't really disagree with the decision, because you didn't do enough in the third round.
2.5 minutes are where we're sitting at right now. Fiorot can't really close that distance. Chookagian throwing those little prodding kicks out to the body, which is the Manon game plan. And we haven't seen any of the ha-ha.
Well, we don't have the volume on, to be fair.
Oh, that much is true, but we haven't seen a lot of those, side kicks to the body from Fiorot. And Chookagian, as much as she's hitting the arms here, she lands a right hand to the chin. Not a lot of shots that have been hitting, but a ton of volume. Fiorot's not winning this round.
And I think that's a really good point to bring up, too. You don't have to land clean shots. If your opponent isn't doing anything, the fact that you're being active is going to reflect well in the judges' eyes.
Wayne Kerr saying, unofficial strikes show Fiorot landing more, but the judges don't have access to that. That's the only trouble. We know this. You know this. But the judges don't have it. Unless Abu Dhabi's freaky. Chookagian doing a great job pressuring forward. This might be the first O on the card. Ooh, big time right lands for Fiorot. She definitely has to get busier here.
This round looks a lot more like the first, though, than the second.
Fiorot moving out of the way. Chookagian continues to pressure forward.
Yeah, Fiorot's going to need a really good last minute here of the round. Getting close fight, though.
Big left hand lands for Fiorot in the blue. Big right hand lands for her. Minute remaining.
She can get a few more.
Takedown from
nice
Fiorot.
Takedown from Manon. That was enough maybe to seal the round if she's able to get a nice, good.
And you hate to say it, but that could be enough.
It's how close the fight is, exactly. It's not that the takedown itself scores all that many points, if you will, in the eyes of the judges, but the control time will, and the fact that Chookagian won't be able to get a lot of shots out, but Chookagian does a great job getting back up to her feet.
Good job from Chookagian to get back up, trying to stay busy. Both these women really need it, and again, there's a potential title shot on the line in this fight.
And if it was like Squid Game's Life or Death, if you were like, you have to pick a fighter who goes for a takedown, I definitely would have said Katlyn Chookagian would have gone for the first takedown in this match.
And they show the significant strike numbers, as was mentioned there by Wayne Kerr, saying that they are very close. They are close, but again, the volume numbers, the pressure for Chookagian, the takedown for Fiorot didn't do a whole heck of a lot.
It's going to be a tough fight to score. This is probably going to be a split decision. It's been that close.
And you hate it, but yeah, it probably is. Let's see if we get a final flurry with 5 seconds remaining. Fiorot lands a nice knee in the clinch. That's
a tough fight to score. That third round was razor thin.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see the total numbers here. Total strikes favor Chookagian.
They always do in her fights, though.
Russ is saying, wow, Fiorot by a hair. Live odds fairly high on Fiorot between round 2 and round 3. That's what we were saying. I mean, almost hard to believe that, yeah, you had minus 330 on Fiorot after a strong second round and a close first round. That's going to be a really, really tough one.
I'm going to say Manon wins 29-28 split decision.
I have an odd feeling that Fiorot wins 29-28, and I wouldn't be surprised. I thought Chookagian got the third round, but it was, again, as you said, it was razor thin.
I just thought there was 2 hooks that landed with about a minute left in that third round that were pretty clean on the chin that Fiorot landed. I think that, going along with the takedown, is going to be enough to last in the mind of the judges. I think they're going to weigh that more than anything Chookagian did.
68% of the fans had it for Fiorot over on Instagram. That was before the fight, and now it's changed 68 to 67%. Slop saying minus 760 at the end. I'd really like to see that live line if it was that. I want to see Manon get a takedown. Bruce Buffer back out there with a decision fairly quickly. We'll see who's able to get the win in this one, of course, by decision. And, I mean, that was the prop that was there. This one was favored to go decision. Manon was of what, minus 105 to get the win by decision?
It's a close fight no matter who wins. Like, you can't be mad if you lose this fight. I don't care who you are. Neither fighter really did enough in the third round to be like, wow, I got robbed.
Manon Fiorot, your winner by decision.
Oh.
And again, if you had a ton of confidence in Fiorot, that was, after all, it is a unanimous decision win, but Definitely withstood the most adversity we've seen for her in her
100%.
UFC tenure.
That was her Amanda Lemos, Angela Hill, if you will. It was a close fight. It was a good fight. It was a fight that is going to make Fiorot get better, I think, as she continues her MMA career. I think it would have been a good loss, I think, for her too, if that's fair. I think it's one of those fights where no matter what the result is, you're going to go back to the drawing board. You're going to get better as a result. But the thing is, again, she oddly could have maybe gotten... I could not throw any more maybes in there. A title shot after her last performance. I don't know if a lot of people are going to be clamoring for her to get a title shot based off this performance.
Malone Hart, sorry to bug you with a question, but who'd you pick in the next one?
No
Would
problem,
you mind letting us know? I've got Gamrot based off of the recent activity and how busy he can be.
I have a weird feeling Benil's going to knock him out, but I do have Gamrot.
And how good his grappling can be. But again, with Beneil Dariush, you got the punching power. You also have the fact that he's a very good grappler in his own right. And good takedown defense from Beneil Dariush. The last person to take down Dariush was Evan Dunham back when they drew, and that was years ago. It's been a long time.
He beat the brakes off Evan Dunham in the first round.
We'll throw it on back to that one. Russ saying, all the favorites win from here on out. I picked them all. It's easy once again. I got off the favorite train in the fight with, in the main event, I should say.
I love watching Charles Oliveira. Goodness, he's fun to watch.
Yeah, and if there were 30-27s in there, that definitely would be a bit of a surprise. But yeah, Fiorot with the win. France gets a dub, and I'd be eager to see because, you know, the UK's gained a lot in terms of the popularity with the UFC going 100%. Over to England. We've seen no propensity to come up to Canada, and France obviously got their first card not that long ago.
But you just hope France can continue to gain momentum off that first card. It's just that... There's some... Every Fight Night card feels so much better when it's on the road. I think we can agree. Steve Harvey's in the building, and I think that's a...
No, he was there for the NBA. He stuck around.
Steve Harvey's cool as ice. Joanna Jacek with some random dude with a black t-shirt on who kind of looks like the comedian Mark Norman. But
I'm Wayne Kerr with the big super chat. Dariush for the win. OC represent.
But the thing about Dariush is he has made a lot of improvements throughout his UFC career. It does feel like we've seen a lot of different versions of Beneil Dariush, and he's been around for a while at this point, but he has a lot of great wins on his record. I do think on the feet he is more durable than Mateusz Gamrot, which is weird because, again, Dariush is one of these guys, like, remember when the storyline around Dustin Poirier was, he doesn't have a good chin, and they just get into fight of the nights every single time he fought, and it was like, okay, maybe he does have a good chin. I know he went up in weight, so that has a lot to do with it too, but Dariush is another guy who sort of erased that stigma about him. It used to be, he's not the most durable guy in the world. I think now at this point he has been able to show the ability to eat at least a good shot on the feet. Listen, if you eat power shots from guys like Dustin Poirier, Edson Barboza, Michael Chandler, guys like that, you're going to go out no matter who you are. But I think if these guys do get into one of those brawls where it's you eat a shot to give a shot, I do favor Dariush in a fight like that. But again, I keep on going back to it. I think Mateusz Gamrot's a much better level of athlete between these two guys. And that doesn't come into play all that much in MMA, but I do think it's going to help him tremendously in the wrestling aspect of his game.
68% of the fans going with Mateusz Gamrot in this one over on the Instagrams. And you have that in our stories. You have a look at this one, and you consider it Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt for both guys. For Mateusz Gamrot, ADCC European champ in 2019. That was the most recent time he was there. Got a fight of the night against Guram Kutateladze. A fight of the night his last time out against Arman Tsarukyan. A lot of people thought that there was a possibility he lost that fight against Tsarukyan. I was included in that camp, but regardless, styles make fights, and that's where you get a really, really good one right here. And if you consider it, 7-fight win streak for Beneil Dariush since late 2018. The level of competition has continually gotten better. For Gamrot, they threw him to the wolves in his first fight against Guram Kutateladze. I thought Gamrot won that fight, but again, splitting hairs at this point. Regardless, you had a giant win over Jeremy Stevens, a big win over Hot Sauce Holtzman. The knee on the back to the rib of Diego Ferreira for Gamrot, and that's a win by finish for Dariush, but it beat him by split decision in his second to last fight. But again, you look at these two guys, there's similarities off of the common opponents. You consider it Ferreira as well as Scott Holtzman, but when you get up to this upper echelon, I'll be eager to see. You know, both guys can bring in the grappling. I would think Gamrot will be the first one to initiate it if we get there. But I like their striking so much because for Dariush, it's more power-centric versus Gamrot. Up and down, all over the place with his, and he can get really, really funky with his takedown attempts. He's a guy that'll go ankle pick on you if you're not paying attention.
Remember when Dariush fought Scott Holtzman, though?
Remember the time Dariush knocked out James Vick? Oh, boy.
No, but the Holtzman one's bad. Like, Beneil Dariush just hit him with every shot he threw in that fight, and he threw it with 100% power, and then hit him with a spinning back fist and walked off like nothing happened. Like, it was one of those performances where you were genuinely concerned for his opponent. It was that one-sided. And if that's the version of Dariush we do get today, I think it's going to result in a phenomenal fight, because I think that will force the takedown out of Gamrot quite a bit. Not that Gamrot's a bad striker. I don't want people to think that just because I think Dariush has a striking advantage that I think Gamrot's some poor striker. He's not. He's just a lot more basic on the feet than Dariush is. And it's not that Dariush, like I said, he has that spinning back fist win over Holtzman. But other than that, it's a very meat and potatoes style of striking. He throws a body kick, he throws a head kick, he throws an inside leg kick. It's good combinations and stuff, but the athleticism doesn't really wow you. The power doesn't wow you, and neither does the speed.
Well, and 2 questions for you and for everybody out there in the chat. For Mateusz Gamrot, how cool is it that he could take his t-shirt off, but his glasses stayed on his face?
He's practiced that in the mirror before.
I'm sure he has. And for Gamrot, you look at it, 2 big camps obviously represented here. For Gamrot, American Top Team, made the move over there. He's had a lot of success, and he's a big-time training partner for the others at the gym. You look at it, guys like Jorge Masvidal, when he's getting ready for Kamaru Usman, you don't become a lifelong wrestler in one camp, but he's a guy to have there,
all the time.
As well as for Dustin Poirier. And for Beneil Dariush, King's MMA, we've seen him in the camp of a lot of different fighters, and it's iron sharpens iron over there as well. And if you do look at this matchup, that knockout that he had over Jakar Close, just a firefight, and a lot of questions around the chin. Dariush, the Dunham, the Barboza era, the Alexander Hernandez on short notice, all of those losses. But again, things can be forgotten when you go on a 7-fight win streak.
Exactly.
And if you do look at it, I wonder who it favors. This is my question for everybody out there. This is a Southpaw versus Southpaw matchup for both of these guys, and it's not often that you don't see that every day, let's put it that way. So I wonder who it favors here.
If it favors anybody, I think it's going to help Dariush. I just think he's got better, not that he has better guys. I disagree. Fair enough, but this is why I think Dariush has the advantage. He's way more technical on the feet. If you're way more technical on the feet, just by definition of being more technical, you should be more comfortable from both stances.
To me, I think it's going to open up a lot of the kicks that you have at a Gamrot, and it's going to help that speed advantage that he's going to have.
I'm telling you this right now. If Gamrot stands at kicking range with Beneil Dariush, I'm going to switch my pick right now to Beneil. Beneil's kicks are so much better.
You know what would be cool?
He has the body a lot better,
This is an aside. If we're talking about UFC fighters, you know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see somebody jack the Cult of Personality walkout and come out like CM Punk in one of these fights. You get a big opportunity.
I like the walkouts.
You're on a pay-per-view. Boris Mankovsky in the corner of Mateusz Gamrot, a gamer, if we've ever seen one, and Mikey Brown as well. Mikey Brown.
Is it gamer because he's like, okay, I'm a gamer when I'm in the cage, or does he just like playing games?
I don't know. I just, like, what do you mean, like tabletop?
No, like Xbox. Like, I wouldn't think Mateusz Gamrot and Sean O'Malley have a lot in common, but maybe they do. Like, maybe they're just hanging out in Abu Dhabi all week.
They're both human males. They have hair on top of their head.
They're good fighters.
Yeah,
maybe they have more in common than we think. I think this could be an incredible fight.
Frosty's saying he's coming out to Fallout Boy. If that's true, that's weak. That's weak.
Yeah, that's not good at all.
One more reason, one more time. Thanks for the memories.
I think Welcome to the Jungle by Jay-Z and Kanye West would be good.
Yeah.
Gotta Have It would be great. Alex Rodriguez used to come out to Gotta Have It, and I used to think it was great. You just do...
Yeah, I wouldn't walk out to a single Kanye West song anymore. I'm off that for good.
Alex Rodriguez in 2010's who I'm talking about.
Can he play baseball?
Well, Mookie Betts certainly can.
Mookie Bats. Said Poppy, can he play baseball? Can he play baseball?
Fall Out Boy. That's tough.
He's definitely coming out to Fall Out Boy. Yeah, that's rough.
That's the thing. They were really popular when I was in like late elementary school, early middle school, but I avoided the Fall Out Boy bug, if you will. By that point, I guess I was playing basketball. We were listening to Eminem like you do in grade 6 basketball.
Rottweiler is a great walkout song. I don't know that one.
I don't either.
Yeah, if it was me, it'd be, like, there's a lot of different choices you could have. I usually keep a running tally. If it was me, it'd be a lot of Canadiana. I'd probably do, like, the Canadian tuxedo with the all denim, and it would either be an Alice Cooper. It'd be an Alice Cooper walkout. It'd be a Gordon Lightfoot walkout, or, like, something that just nobody would expect.
Say Hello by April Wine would get you so fired up, too.
Sundown, you better take care. Fine, you've been creeping around my back.
Listen, Frosty, I appreciate the honesty. If you went to some Fall Out Boy concerts, don't hide the fact. Like, own it. Just not my flavor.
I mean, I saw Dragonette in university. That was a Frosh Week concert.
She's not the one who sang Bulletproof.
No.
No. What was Dragonette's big song?
Dragonette was, na 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 na, along with you.
Okay.
Hello.
There you go.
Yeah, she had some songs. But the best out of that concert that people will forget if they were there for Frosh 2012, it was Dubs. You know, the Tsunami song.
Wait, the Golden State Warriors were there?
It was pretty cool. Yeah, Beneil Dariush will cut the chat about the walkout song there now.
Drake, last one. Max Holloway coming out to Blessed by Drake when his nickname's Blessed is pretty great.
Matt, for Beneil Dariush, they talk about the win streak, 7 fights in a row since 2018. The inactivity, the leg injury, we'll see how they factor into this matchup, and we'll see if he's lost a step in the time away. We haven't seen him in a very long time in a grappling-heavy playbook where he's taken on a guy who is a grappler in Tony Ferguson. We'll see if that could be a path to victory for him against a grappler, Mateusz Gamrot.
And he's got some salt mixed in with that pepper. Like, Dariush isn't the youngest guy in the world, so it will be interesting to see how he responds based off such a long layoff. Why were you so against him tapping? No, it's not. Guys, Charles Oliveira does that in every fight he's ever been in.
We'll see the comments section over there. I'll pull out a prop. There's oh, look at that. The light screws it up. Air Jordan. We got a PSA Air Jordan rookie card.
Here's the good news, guys. For as sad as I am about the Yankees losing in the playoffs right now, the Raptors look better than I thought they would, even though they lost last night. So the basketball season normally helps like buffer my sadness that the baseball season brings me every season. So at least I have that to fall back on. And Tua Tagovailoa back in the saddle again against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Picked him up on waivers. He's on my bench. I dropped Marcus Mariota.
I've got him.
Tagovailoa was out there, but my starter is Lamar
Tua
Jackson.
A slinger.
Big time fight here at lightweight. Let us know what you have in this one. Craig Hart saying, win against you guys in this one. I have faith in Dariush. To me, I'm a seeing is believing type of guy. If I've ever seen any movies, when we're talking about magic, I need to see it.
If that's the case, wouldn't you agree and pick Dariush? Because we've seen a lot more from him at the UFC level against high level.
I haven't seen it recently. That's the thing.
Fair, okay. I just thought you meant like in totality. I was gonna say Dariush can't really prove that much more. Like he's been in there with some of the best fighters we've ever seen.
Dariush coming in here 21-4-1 at a plus 180 in the underdog spot. Haven't seen a lot of people. Phoenix saying Gamrot's going to be called the Bob Marley the way he smokes Dariush. Oh
wow,
boy.
Could be. One love. It's a banging tune.
41 saying no sound. I see sound on my end. What are you looking for? Prince Vegeta-san, love you, Craig. OMG, what do you want for that card? We're going to wait till after the playoffs, then we'll see if it's for sale. That's how that one's going to work. Dan Mulvaheady, he's had a rough night so far.
He has. A guy who's not afraid to hand out some warnings.
Loves to give you a warning. He's a big warning guy.
I'll do it, guys. Hey, are your fingers in his eyes? Are they in his mouth? Are they in the cage? I'd like you to stop, but I'll let it continue.
Here we go. The big time. Ooh, big right hand lands for Gamrot.
I like the aggressiveness.
Giving him the up top, the down low. Dariush looking speedy with those fingers.
He does. Little 1-2 from Dariush. And again, I do think he's the more technical guy on the feet. Not discrediting Gamrot's striking whatsoever, because he is a talented striker. Again, that's why this fight's so good. It's going to be good no matter where it's contested.
Dariush darting in, darting out. Gamrot figuring it out. Touching his ear. Maybe a little bit of blood. A lot of cauliflower on him. Ooh!
He almost walked into a knee. That could have been bad for him. Dariush looking really good so far with his takedown defense. He may have eaten that knee. He's not really responding well.
Whoa!
Oh, and people forget. So you guys are grappling.
Dariush just about had the back, and you got Gamrot scrambling out of it. Grammy roll from Dariush. Does he have the knee of Gamrot? Oh, that's a tough position.
Just these scrambles have been wild. Both guys have taken the back and had top position on their opponents about 3 times in the first minute.
Gamrot riding the back. We've had the wildest fight so far.
Now. That was insane.
Both guys, the highest level.
And again, that's what makes this fight so fun.
Look like those right hands landed there for Gamrot.
Yeah, but that just glancing blows by Gamrot. Insane start to the fight.
Dariush looking to pressure forward.
And there's just a snapshot of how good of a grappler Beneil Dariush is. If you thought Gamrot was just going to show up and out-grapple him from the jump street, that's not the case whatsoever.
And a really good left hand lands for Gamrot, and then a nice leg kick there from Dariush. There definitely is blood coming from the right ear of Mateusz Gamrot out of pole. Another nice leg kick for Dariush, but he eats a jab.
But that's what I said when I thought that Southpaw favors Dariush a little bit more. He does have slightly better kicks, and I thought they would help him at least with the outside.
Gamrot gets a takedown for a second. Dariush with one hook. Trying to go for the second, giving his back, grabbing the arm.
Dariush looking to roll again.
Gamrot's in a bit of a tricky position.
He's doing a great job isolating that one leg, getting
very
his own
high.
head into trouble.
He might have a good angle on this knee bar.
Might not be far enough in, but I don't know knee bars all that well.
That looks like a decent opportunity.
No, his knee's out of it now. It's too far past.
Dariush grabbing that foot.
Just an absolute mess of limbs right now.
I mean, if you ever watched Tank Abbott's fight against Frank Mir, he just grabs that toe and twists it, and that's the end of that fight.
Looks like some eldritch monster. This is...
Still got that leg. Gamrot trying to pull himself out. He's got the arm out now.
I don't know whose leg belongs to who as they get back up to the feet. That was dangerous for both guys.
I'd love to see a slam-a-jamma here. Will we get a bit of a Minikov, just the old German suplex?
I don't know if you want to waste that much energy against a guy like Dariush, but...
Gamrot with the back.
Here's something to watch out for, though. That did seem to acquire damage the second it got touched. Dariush doing a good job defensively. But again, it's hard to get your own offense off when you're constantly on the receiving end of takedown attempts.
The little boop there from Gamrot on the break. About 2 minutes remain here in our first round. We've had a wild bit of action. This has been a lot of fun.
It definitely has been. Dariush looking to be a lot more aggressive now as Gamrot goes for the takedown. Dariush doing a great job defensively with his takedowns here.
Yeah, they're really funky. Like, it's kind of hard to tell who's going to win out of these positions because...
Isn't that the sign of a good grappler, though? Someone who knows when to go with the momentum of the takedown. Someone who knows when to try to stop the momentum of the takedown. Dariush isn't someone who only relies on one method of defense. It's something that evolves on every touch.
For Wayne Kerr, I mean, Gamrot could fatigue. We've seen him fight so many 5-round fights, but even in his last 5-round fight against Arman Tsarukyan, that was a conversation going into the 4th round, and then Gamrot came out fairly fresh. He did get dropped in the round, but he was still fresh in the 4th and in the 5th.
I think it is a good point to bring up, though, because Dariush is one of those fighters that you don't necessarily worry about with his cardio, no matter what type of a layoff he's coming off of or how many rounds. So.
You got the double-handed, now just the one hand, almost like a Kimura to try and get himself out of this for Dariush, but Gamrot's still sticking with this takedown, about a minute left.
He's almost got like a Gary Goodridge reverse crucifix on him. I know it's not the same position, but this is a weird position for Gamrot because he's almost got his back taken even though he's the one securing a takedown as he pops through. Good job by Gamrot.
The little boop. It's a really close round. I think so far with about 40 seconds left, Dariush has done some pretty good work with some of the damage, but Gamrot as well. This is as close of action as we've had.
Yeah, this is a tough round to score without a doubt.
As well saying what's going to win,
Good
it's really hard to say.
Dariush.
Some heavy breaths here. A lot of action in this first round.
Dariush is a good example, though, of someone who's just really skilled. Doesn't rely on his athleticism. Just is really good at the X's and O's of the sport.
About 10 seconds remain. Ooh.
Like a Trey Turner, you know? Doesn't wow you with the athleticism. Has speed, but just good at everything.
A little bit of a weird skip to my loo there between the two fighters. And that's the end of round number 1. I'd say 10-9 Dariush, I guess. It's hard to say.
I have no idea. Yeah, it's a close one. It depends if that knee hurt him. If the knee lands, then I think that's the most significant strike of the round. If it doesn't land, then I think Dariush did a really good job defensively, and I think he may have lost the battle to win the war, if you will, because he might be in better shape in the 2nd and 3rd round, but that's a difficult round to judge no matter what.
You got the total strike numbers are close. Gamrot had the takedowns out of all of it. He got out of some of those bad positions in the grappling. That's hard to say. Frosty, I don't know what I'm expecting. I don't either.
Great first round, though. Really nice action on the mat from both guys. Really good scrambles.
And a real shame that we lost Takugov versus Almeida. A possible fight of the night on this card, isn't it?
You know, I disagree with that, but I can't believe you're bringing that up of all things right now.
Now you can't wait to see what I'm going to do for next week. It's going to be a surprise.
It's probably going to upset me to no end. This has been a really fun fight, though.
All right, round number 2.
This is a weird fight, too, because the bantamweight division just went through this, where Marlon Vera looked great against Dominic Cruz, so it shot him up the rankings, he might get a title shot. Merab didn't look amazing against Jose Aldo. Like, he won, but didn't look great. This is a weird fight, because I feel like if you win it in impressive fashion, Dana White might throw you a bone, if you will. Give you a more favorable matchup. You know, do you some favors going forward.
Frosty talking about that gray. I mean, yeah, it's more like Steve Martin than anything. He's not an old man by any stretch of the imagination. Ooh, a nice entry on that takedown there from Gamrot.
Beneil Dariush
nice knee to the body,
seems to be the guy who lives by, I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. And I respect that.
But I doubt he's a Toby Keith fan.
I doubt it. Could be.
He's probably a Dead Mouse fan, if I can make a Canadian reference.
That song Pomegranate's not bad. It's the only Dead Mouse song I know.
Winner of the first round, really hard to say. I'd get a 10-9 for Dariush, but I could see a 10-9 for Gamrot. Seems like the powers that be on the Twitterverse that they're featuring on the TVs, they're saying Gamrot. But a really close round.
Exactly. It's not like he was really able to prove that his grappling's dominant compared to anything Dariush has.
Oh, nice leg kick there from Dariush, but a really good...
Stayed right first trouble.
Yeah, a really good response there from Gamrot. And a lot of these, we've seen Dariush go for a lot of these big actions. They haven't necessarily all landed, but when he's popping that jab out there, he's doing a really good job of backing up Gamrot.
When he has a steadier mindset, I do agree he is having a lot of success, but even these big bursts, like he might be throwing a knee to land it at the head, but the way Gamrot's defending a lot of these, he is moving into them, and the strikes are still landing.
Used to live down the street from Dead Mouse's mom.
That's cool.
I'll talk about my mom.
Dead Mouse is a big deal in Canada.
Oh, for sure.
Sells out hockey stadiums like every weekend.
The old Ghosts and Stuff reference. I saw that. Closing in on 3 minutes remaining in this round. Dariush doing a good job defending some of these takedowns. Putting in some good work with his kicks. You're definitely right there with that southpaw look. It's really opened up Dariush's kicks in this one.
Really helping him maintain range, too, with that body kick. Again, they're not landing with, like, thunderous power, but again, they're landing shots.
Yeah, and a lot of good jabs here from Gamrot when he's working from... southpaw.
Left hand by Dariush, though.
Orthodox stance, though, for Gamrot. He's opened himself up.
He really has been. That's the interesting thing about Gamrot. You would assume he would just try to stay in that southpaw position as much as possible, because every time he is trying to give that different look, I know it's so he can get that left hand in front so he can threaten with the single leg a little bit more, but that's when Dariush's having success.
Halfway through the second round, a lot less grappling intensive has been the second one. Oh, big right hand lands for Gamrot.
Yeah, good job by Gamrot to sort of lull Dariush into range.
Oh, he did it. He faked the low. Oh, he eats a knee on his takedown.
It's interesting how Dariush was the one on the receiving end of a lot of knees going for the takedowns against Edson Barbosa, but how the turntables, if you will. Dariush really using that technique.
How the turntables. How the tables have turned.
I know how the tables have turned.
Good job here from Dariush.
Good left hand by Benil, too. Benil's looked really good after all this time off. I must say, he doesn't look like he's had noticeable ring rust in the slightest.
Less than 2 minutes remain here. Gamrot working from the center of the octagon, giving Dariush a little bit more of a look.
Is it true that the scariest things you can see standing across from you in the cage is like Jessica Andrade marching you down, and Benil Dariush with his weird stumble across the cage?
To me, I would say it'd probably be Gabby Garcia.
That's true. That'd be terrifying. I guess Francis is pretty high off that list. Ooh, good left hand by Dariush.
Dariush doing a good job here, working his hands.
And he's just like, he's very technical, but he does have that little hitch to his game, if you will, and that's what makes his striking so effective. Teddy Atlas, a big fan of the matchmaking in the UFC. Good head kick by Benil. Went up high with that one. Good left hand. Benil's really looking good on the feet in the second round.
Yeah, Dariush definitely pulling away in this round. Gamrot's going to need something big. And I mean, in a close round that we had in the last one, it was a late takedown attempt from Gamrot that may definitely have won it for him. Gamrot looking to pressure forward, landed a right hand of his own.
He almost needed a big left, though.
Live line, minus 120 Gamrot. He was over a minus 200 favorite at the start of this fight.
So, I assume the odds makers have it close going into the third round. They must see it the same way we do. And that's the nice thing about Benil Dariush, too. He doesn't fight in a way to where you worry about how he has to steady himself in a 3 to 5 round manner. He doesn't overthrow. He doesn't fight at this crazy high volume. He's just steady. And there's something to be said for a guy, again, who's just good at the fundamentals, has a steady gas tank, has good durability. Again, there's not one point of Dariush's game you can point to and say, like, wow, he really struggles with that in the world of MMA.
Big right hand there landed for Gamrot, but it's been too little too late, too few and far between. He hasn't landed much for volume in this one. Nice knee to the body from Gamrot.
Tries to do a big explosion there in the last 10 seconds. Dariush hammering away, though, while he's defending a takedown.
Good push there from Gamrot. Gets a late takedown. He's not going to be able to do much with this one.
I've been really impressed by the grappling defense of Benil Dariush, though, I must say.
What did you expect?
Well, no, but as someone who picked Mateusz Gamrot in this fight and openly admitted I thought Benil Dariush was better on the feet, that means I had to assume Gamrot was going to be not dominant in his grappling, but at least have more success in that one area of his game. I really like what I've seen out of Benil Dariush, though. His ability to, like I said, use the momentum of Gamrot in some spaces to create a roll, use that to then create a scramble, but also to defend takedowns in a more traditional sense, too. Go for the underhooks, try to defend it with a clinch. It's been a really nice performance out of Dariush.
Well, and if I had it 20 or 10-9 for Dariush in round number 1, then it has to be 20-18. But we're going to see a lot of 19-19s out there for sure. Seems like that's kind of the going tally. But when you do consider this fight, I mean, Dariush definitely had a good round. And the other thing for Gamrot, and Amaway and Kerr mentioning it, the takedowns are looking a little sloppy for Gamrot. He will continue to chain and go for them. So sometimes it's to open up a little bit of his striking, but yeah, they're definitely going to look a little bit different. And he's not a guy that's going to float on top, or he is a guy that's going to float on top. He's not going to be heavy with his top pressure. That's just the type of fighter that he is. So really, really tight fight in this one. The live odds kind of closing in for Dariush after the second round. We saw a minus 330 for Manon Fiorot in her fight against Chookagian, the last one there. Nice pop up to the top for Gamrot. Wow. He's going for a knee.
Who's this guy? Paul Harris all of a sudden. That was Paul Harris. But...
Gonna look to try and roll for it, trying to find success to where...
I like him trying something new, though, going for something different. We just talked about how much Gamrot's been struggling to get the offensive takedown in open space, but the fact that he tried something new, pulled guard, went for the heel hook, at least he's throwing different things up there.
And I got too excited and forgot to start the timer, but we're at about 4 minutes and 24 seconds remaining here.
22, 21, 20. Just things sync up with the 3.
All right, but yeah, about 4 minutes 15 remaining at this point. But the kicks here from Dariush and Gamrot really needing to close the gap in this one. We'll see how it goes for him as this round goes on.
Kicks to Dariush looking good on the outside. He's really been able to land that outside leg kick effectively with his own left leg. And for Gamrot, again, if he's not able to get anything going with his wrestling, I guess it'll just be interesting to see Gamrot fight other guys in the top 15 area. Because again, he's not a bad striker by any means, but he doesn't have anything in that long range. He's good at up close. He's good striking up close. He's good with his wrestling up close. It'll be interesting to see if at this age and at this point in his MMA career, he could potentially add some more kicks into his game or just, do something a little bit different to help complement his 2 other portions of his MMA game.
Gurav, close your channel, and I lose money on your prediction. If I go 8-1 after this one, I don't know what to tell you, Gurav. You can't get them all right, bud. Less than 3.5 minutes remaining here in the third round. Gamrot definitely having a better round here in this one.
He's moving forward more, but I just don't know how much he's landing clean, I guess.
And the people in the crowd are looking backwards. There must be something good going on.
Must be. Potentially a fight in the crowd?
Yeah, I don't know. Hard to say. Gamrot's really starting to have a much better round. We've seen everything slow down for Dariush.
And it really has come down to whatever fighters moving forwards had a lot more success. Dariush was having a lot more success when he was the one pressuring Gamrot, especially...
Everybody in the crowd standing up.
Yeah, they really are focused on whatever's going on there. Dariush, good job defensively, though. Ooh, Gamrot did a good job pulling out that back leg, but Dariush, light on his feet.
Good opportunity on this one for Gamrot.
Is Dariush like one of those log runners where they stand on the water and it spins? Because his balance has been insane in this fight.
Single leg here from Gamrot. We'll see if Dariush can hit him a couple of times, and he does.
And I know this is like a 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon type thing to do, but you get the idea. Arman Tsarukyan looked good in the wrestling against Islam Makhachev. Gamrot's looked really good in the wrestling against Arman. The fact that Dariush has looked this good in the wrestling against Gamrot has surprised me.
And we did touch on this, kind of at the start of the week, how good Dariush's takedown defense was. You go all the way back to his draw against Evan Dunham. That was the last person that took him down successfully.
A while ago now.
Yeah, it's a really, really long time. And definitely if you're looking at it, in this fight with Mateusz Gamrot, that's definitely a really high-level takedown artist. He loves to just chain and wrestle. He's not a guy that's heavy with the top pressure. So a great job here from Dariush in this one as people are still standing in the background. And I would have loved to have known what was going on back there. Live line minus 345 Dariush. I think this round's really close.
I still favor Dariush, though, a little bit. I just think he's been a little bit more effective on the back foot. I know Gamrot's been the one who has been more aggressive in this round, and he's fought a better third round, I'd say, than he fought...
Oh, he dropped
Big left hand by Dariush! That was the biggest shot of the fight, without a doubt. Where does his power come from? Benil Dariush looks like... But, he looks like any guy walking down the street. Benil Dariush doesn't look like some next-level athlete. He looks like he goes to the gym. But he's got really good power for a guy who, again, doesn't look like he's got crippling knockout power. Insane punch landed by Benil.
But a minute remaining. Nice body kick there from Gamrot. Still looking to pressure the action. Steven Adams, mate.
Center for the Memphis Grizzlies.
What a swap. Steven Adams for Jonas Valanciunas.
Yeah, the Pelicans. They fleeced him.
Less than a minute left.
That loop in left hand's getting close every time. He finally landed it once clean. Ooh, landed it again.
Gamrot's made of steel.
If Gamrot went for the
he goes for a knee and he lands it. Gamrot's still working for that takedown.
Oh my goodness, Beneil Dariush looked good in this fight.
Whoa!
That was neat. 25 seconds, though. Gamrot needs something big, though, in the last 30 seconds here to try to steal the round, because that knockdown by Dariush probably sealed it for him.
Yeah, I would think so.
Shot. We don't have volume on, so I might be wrong after rewatching it, but that's going to be up there with, like, when Gabe Green got hit and didn't get knocked out. That's one of the hardest non-knockout punches I've seen a man take.
Hands down, Johan Lines just lands.
But Gamrot just did a backflip after he got hit by one shot from Beneil, and then he was like, we good.
Yeah, I'd say 30-27 Dariush in this one. You could say 29-28 for Gamrot. Gurev is mad. I can't get them all right, Gurev. I'm sorry, pal.
Nice. That was a great fight.
Really good fight. I mean, that's been probably one of the better fights on the night.
Look at this overhand.
Lands right on the jaw and drops him.
That was clean.
If we go to the total votes on this one again, it was 68% for Gamrot that had him to get the win.
And we talked about this quite a bit, though, this week in the channel. Again, it's not that Beneil or Gamrot aren't durable fighters. It's just we've seen Gamrot get into a lot of crazy fights, especially in this later half of his career. If you look at it in, like, KSW half and in his UFC half, he's seen some really big shots as of late. He's been dropped in a few fights now, so I'll just be interested to see. That's something to watch out for, I guess, as we go forward. Just because you get dropped by Beneil Dariush doesn't mean you don't have a good chin, but we have seen him eat some bigger shots, at least in his UFC tenure, so I'll be curious to see if that's still going to be a liability for him moving forward. But really fun fight there. That was a good fight between two really talented fighters in one of the best divisions in the UFC.
Yeah, and a giant win there for, Beneil Dariush. If he is able, of course, to get this one done, we'll get the final tally. Bruce Buffer's back there.
It was a big shot.
I would expect it to be for Dariush there. There you go. Dariush gets the win, and that was the least chintzy of the two losses on Mr. Mateusz Gamrot's
that was convincing.
card. Craig Hart definitely got it wrong. Out of B. Jack is saying fight of the night.
Till right now.
Fight Hive, no, it was the Dariush win for sure. 30-27. It depends on the first round.
29-28 or 30-27.
Yeah, I thought Dariush got it done, but a big time win from there. Now all of a sudden, Dariush was a guy that was ranked third in the division at a point, fell down a little bit because of the inactivity.
Yeah.
Now he's got himself right back squarely into that title kind of contention area, if you will.
I hope he's calling out someone who's really good and at the top of the division.
The champ has a name.
And it might be Islam Makhachev, it might be Charles Oliveira. We don't know yet. Beneil's in a great position, though. It really is wild to see the improvements he's made in the second half of his career. And you can draw a lot of parallels, too, between him and, like, a Bilal Muhammad. I know Beneil's been around for a lot longer than Muhammad, or at least I think, yeah, he's been around for longer. But Dariush has been a guy who's got close to the top of the hill, been knocked down, been knocked out, got close again in the mid-drop. But every single time he does make those improvements and does get better time in and time out. And now he's gotten to the point where he's one of the most well-rounded fighters in the division. That's arguably the best division in the UFC. So, again, whatever the next fight is for Beneil Dariush, I know I'm going to be excited for it.
Yeah, you love to see that. Obviously, that leg injury didn't hinder him. The time away wasn't such a big issue, especially for a guy who's not under 30. So a giant win for Beneil Dariush to get himself right back up into contention once more. And again, you talk about the top guys in the division, the ones that don't have fights. Justin Gaethje's out there.
That'd be a good fight.
I would really like to see that.
They're friends, though, which is weird. I know that because I watched an interview where Beneil Dariush was like, oh, we've lived together. But they are open to fighting each other. It's not one of those things where they refuse to. I think that'd be a phenomenal fight.
The craziest part about it is, maybe you folks haven't looked ahead to the card that's coming out next weekend. I just finished the graphics, but Cater versus Allen. On the main card, there's a fight between teammates. And Andrei Arlovski's fought teammates before. He fought Felipe Lins. He's fighting Marcus Rogerio de Lima. Like direct teammates, and so they've broken off into factions. Arlovski gets Said Salma, and Rogerio de Lima gets Augusto Sakai and the boys.
That screams it's going to be a sad night to watch an Andrei Arlovski in a fist fight. He hasn't been knocked out in a while.
Rogerio de Lima has bad cardio, but wicked power.
If the wind from one of his punches comes close to you, you might get knocked out.
But Benny and the Jets hanging out with Rafael Cordero there.
Happiest man. A guy who can make anybody look good if he's holding pads. Ha ha ha. And then he puts it really light on the end so you hit it across the room. Cordeiro's a great striking coach, though. Again, Beneil Dariush is primarily a grappler. Like, that's what his foundation is. And Cordeiro's been able to turn him into a very, very good striker on the feet.
Khamzat Chimaev, will they show who he's sitting with?
I don't think so.
Nope. They're just going to show him.
Gordon Ryan, the #1 submission grappler in the world, has he ever been tested by USADA?
Doesn't need to.
Doesn't need to because it's not in the sport.
Probably won't.
I doubt he will. He wasn't one championship, though. And they say they have testing.
He never actually fought for them.
No, he didn't. He was with them, though. I'm very excited for this next fight, Craig. We don't need to talk about one championship. Never watched it before.
So you got Petr Yan. He's taking on one Sugar Sean O'Malley. For Sean O'Malley, he's decided to dye his hair one singular color. Were you surprised by that?
I was not surprised by that, but this is a wild, momentous occasion in, I would say, Sean O'Malley's career, and I don't think you realize this. For the longest time... No, yeah, you don't. For the longest time, you knew Sean O'Malley as this. Welcome to the Sugar Show. You don't say that anymore. Like, Sean O'Malley has morphed into something more in your eyes. He's no longer that thin kid who was, welcome to the Sugar Show on Contender Series. Like, he is a really good MMA fighter at the UFC level, who's a world-class striker, who has knockout power, who's really built his brand outside the UFC, which you must applaud to. It's just, Sean O'Malley really has improved leaps and bounds since he was just that guy who was known for that soundbite coming off Contender Series all those years ago.
And I mean, you consider that season of Dana White's Contender Series 2017, they had the different shirts with like the, what was it?
They had Snoop Dogg and Uriah Faber.
Yeah, and then Snoop Dogg for Conor McGregor. You know, that was weird.
He didn't like him when he fought Floyd Mayweather. I know that.
No. And I wasn't a big fan of the Snoop cast. But regardless,
I like his music.
When you do look at this fight, Matt, for Petr Yan, gets a chance to get back on the horse. This is the title contender fight. So, #1 contender. And if you do look at it in terms of the rankings, Petr Yan's #1, in the division. And if you look at it for Mr. Sean O'Malley, he's fighting so far up. Now, he started the week at number 12. But then a little bit of trickery in the rankings, and Frankie Edgar goes down a spot for O'Malley to go up to 11, even though there were no fights involved. So O'Malley comes in ranked number 11, taking on the #1 guy. Over there in the comments section, Matt, there's a lot of people. Debbie's got Sean O'Malley. Don't Tase Me Bro's got Sean O'Malley to get the win. You also have, who else? Debbie O'Malley. Matthew Johnson, plus 500 for TKO, cut to plus 300.
Remember when Sean Strickland thought it'd be a good idea to walk towards Alex Pereira with his hands down by his waist?
I watched him try and fight a guy in another car on.
No, I'm just saying, like that. One of the most egregious game plans I've ever seen in my life. You're fighting a guy who's from, and I'm not making this up, from a tribe in Brazil who has been such a good fighter that now he's a world famous athlete. That's a crazy story when you just isolate that. He's that good at striking. He speaks a language that's not Portuguese.
Hey, Frankie Edgar, Chris Gutierrez on the main card.
My point is, though, I just can't believe Sean Strickland was like, listen, what if I fought him like an old-timey boxer? It did not work out at all.
Little Sean Strickland squiggle in the corner here on a poster. Matt, we get set for this fight. This one at bantamweight. And, of course, the next fight, you have Aljamain Sterling and TJ Dillashaw. Fresh matchup, new matchup. You look at this one, and it's like Garth Brooks. Let's get physical on stage. Let's have a little bit of fun.
Let's move a little bit.
I would expect that Petr Yan will get the respect of the crowd in this one, and it's going to be a non-O'Malley crowd, which does not happen.
I agree with everything you said. I don't know if you want it. Like, I think Sean O'Malley's really popular in, like, North America. Because that's sort of the audience he caters
He's
towards.
got 2.5 million Instagram followers for Petr Yan, like 1.5.
Yeah, I know people who don't know anything about fights who know who Sean O'Malley is. They're like, oh, you mean that guy with the wild hair who's got, yeah, he's driving a Lamborghini right now. Like, the Twitch streams, like, people know him for reasons outside of
Sean
just...
O'Malley, Matt.
Oh, I thought it was, sorry, I just assumed. Yeah, it is.
That's Sean O'Malley.
Oh,
Matt.
okay, wow, quick to call other people out. I think Sean O'Malley really is that level of fighter, though. I know he is taking a huge jump up in the rankings, but he really is that talented of a fighter. I know not every performance has been just picture perfect. He's not the absolute perfect prospect on his way up where he's just starching everybody in the first round, but I think going through adversity on your fights going up the rankings really does help you out in the grand scheme of things. And when you're fighting a guy like Petr Yan, like, let's say everything's gone right for you your whole entire career up until you're fighting Petr Yan. I'm telling you right now, things are not going to go your way when you're fighting a guy like Jan. And how you are in those moments really tells us a lot about not only your character, but what type of fighter you are. And if you haven't faced that adversity before you fight Petr Yan, you're not going to be used to it when you're in there getting beat up, getting taken down, being missing a lot of your own shots, because that can be really disheartening for a lot of fighters. I think the fact that O'Malley has faced some of that adversity coming into this fight against Yan is going to help him have some level of success. I just think this is a massive mountain to climb. Did you see that documentary on Netflix, 7 Peaks?
No.
Maybe it's 12 Peaks. This guy climbs the 12 highest mountains in the world in like a year. It's absolutely insane. But it's a wild mountain to climb, quite literally, with this guy. I think that's the type of leap that Sean O'Malley's making. It's one thing to go from a closely contested, odd fight against Pedro Munoz to fighting Petr Yan in this type of a high-profile fight on a pay-per-view. I think Sean O'Malley's going to make it a really fun fight, but at the end of the day, I do think Yan's going to get to him with his own offensive boxing.
Incognito simulated it, and Sean O'Malley won 3 times.
Interesting.
What did Booger Beard do on that one? Who's the other UFC guy that's on Twitter like that? Who's the one? McMalley? That guy?
I play UFC the game.
Yeah, he does stream a little bit. But you focus in on this one, Matt. Debbie's all over Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley does not lose, according to Debbie. Frosty saying, used to work in the same building as EA Games in Orlando.
That's cool.
Do not use that as your metric. Yeah, exactly. Tristan Connolly, a big fan of the UFC games. EA Sports. Tristan Connolly. Canadian.
I play Tim Means at welterweight all the time and really throw people off online, but little do they know I'm a monster as Tim Means.
How's Tim Means going to make out against Payne Griffin next week in the co-main event?
It's a pretty good fight for Tim Means. Like, as far as Tim Means fights go at this stage of his career, it's one of the more winnable ones, honestly.
It is.
Not like Griffin's some thunderous puncher. Like, he's got good punching power, but it's nothing exceptional. I would say Tim Means has way better volume, too, especially on the outside. So if you can avoid that big shot and defend some takedowns, I actually think Means has a pretty good chance.
Good opportunity in that one. I'm sure he's the underdog.
It's going to be a fun fight, though, honestly. Like, that's a fight that's going to entertain without a doubt. Because Tim Means could be 55, and I'd be excited for one of his fights.
You look at a title fight, you know, where you have Aljamain Sterling, you have TJ Dillashaw, co-main event on this card. Of course, 5 rounds. But you consider this, Matt. Sean O'Malley has no 5-round experience.
None.
Does it surprise you at all that they haven't put him in a fight night main event to at least get him acclimated to that sense?
I think you fight Petr Yan, get over that hump, and then you prove it to us afterwards. I think this is how he gets his name in that top 5 kind of category, to where, okay, anytime the champion is looking for an opponent, your name could be drawn out of that hat, just because really anybody in the top 5, top 4 can be a pick. Everybody's like, oh, the number 1 contender. The number 1 contender doesn't really work that way in the UFC. Let's just call it for what it is. Like, if you lose, they put you at number 1.
Yeah, like look at Katlyn Chookagian.
Yeah, and then like fighters who are ranked number 3 will get a title shot, and you're not truly a number 1 contender if you're the 3rd ranked fighter getting a title shot. But anyways, I think for Sean O'Malley, he gets this opportunity, looks good against Petr Yan if he is able to, of course, and then you put him in a 5-round atmosphere. Maybe they do the rematch against like a Marlon Vera. I think that's not that it's a Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz fight, but just hear me out. It's one of those fights where no matter what stage of either guy's career they're at, you can always revisit that fight. They're both going to sell it very well outside of the cage. They're both very emotional guys. If you have a press conference, I'd go back to remember when Kevin Lee and Michael Chiesa get into that brawl when they were doing like their summertime slate. I could see them doing a press conference of that type, you know, where they get a lot of the main event fighters on kind of an upcoming portion of the year, and you could easily sell a Sean O'Malley Marlon Vera main event.
I could even see if Chris Gutierrez beats Frankie Edgar, and if you have Sean O'Malley losing this fight, then
okay, I was gonna say if he beats Petr Yan, then he fights Chris Gutierrez. I'd feel terrible for Chris Gutierrez because that means Sean O'Malley's way better than I think he is.
Gutierrez on a run right now. Sean O'Malley in the cage right now, and Sean O'Malley feeling it, bringing it in.
Maybe he is popular. I'm curious, like...
Could be doing it to the booze, though, you know?
But okay, like, Canada is what you'd call, like, a barber... Or hockey in Canada would be, like, barbershop talk, you know what I mean? It's not really boxing, it's not basketball, although the place I used to go to, I talked a lot of basketball at. And UAE is, like, MMA at the forefront. Like, I'm very curious if the UFC stars, if you will, that they do have on the main cards, these pay-per-views, if then they sort of just become kind of like the cultural sports stars. Like, I wonder how big of a star Sean O'Malley is.
I bet soccer's on the forefront there, Matt.
I'm sure it is. It's just there's less competition with other mainstream sports.
Lone Heart, Super Chat, am I a moron for thinking Jan should be more heavily favored than he is?
It's a weird fight because you're going to get extremes either way because both fighters are so talented and so popular in their own rights. I think there is an argument to be made that Jan's had a lot more high-level experience. He's a lot more technical. He's had a lot more amateur experience if you want to include his amateur boxing background too. But There's something to be said for just the style that Sean O'Malley fights in. He does have incredible power. He's very accurate from the outside, and he's a guy who only needs one, even though he is kind of a thin, wiry guy. So, again, I think there's an argument to kind of be made either way. There's an argument that could be made for Petr Yan should be a minus 700 favorite, but there's also an argument that could be made that Sean O'Malley's going to go in there one-hitter quitter in the first round. I know that's wild to say, but he does have that kind of power.
The Jet. Shake my head. Wish I took your guys' Bilal pick. And then, yeah, everybody was all rough and rowdy over the last fight and getting it wrong. But when you get a nice underdog, you go with it. A big win for Bilal Muhammad in the main event of the prelims. Petr Yan making the walk.
He's an intense guy.
To the Etihad Arena. Etihad.
Okay, this isn't the arena that Dustin Poirier fought Khabib Nurmagomedov in, right? I just remember they had, like, the in-cage temperature when they had fought in Saudi Arabia, and it was like 109 degrees. Like, you could tell the sweat dripping off. I think the Etihad Arena is newer, though, and much more updated. I do think it accommodates the athletes much better.
This one, yeah. And when you do consider it, I mean, way back when Anderson Silva's fighting Damian Maia.
It's like outside.
Dana White was not happy with that one. Not happy with that one.
Like, okay, the upcoming World Cup's in Qatar, right?
Yeah.
Is that an indoor stadium?
I assume so.
I would hope so. Like, I just couldn't imagine fighting outdoors in the desert. That would be very hot. I just couldn't imagine.
Yeah, not...
I would want to fight it. I guess combat sports is weird. I don't even like it when they do boxing outdoors. Like, there was an Australian card not that long ago where they put up, like... You know what I mean? Just it almost looks like a Hell in a Cell.
You're done.
But I just think it's weird with, like, the shadows and stuff, too. And maybe that's the baseball player in me thinking about that with, like, how the baseball travels. I just think it creates a weird scenario for both fighters. Thank you, Sean Taylor, for having some faith in us when nobody else did.
Arnold Allen coming up, taking on Calvin Kattar. Yeah, that's a big fight coming up for... I'll just turn the volume down there. So, of course, you're live. You're with us now. You know what's up. And then when we get to the next one, yeah, Kattar versus Allen. Really, really good fight in that main event. And for Arnold Allen, no losses in the UFC, 18-1. Really for Calvin Kattar, coming off a tough split decision loss to Josh Emmett. A lot of commentary about that one there. Frosty saying, hockey outdoors is freaking awesome. Huge fan of playing hockey outdoors.
Hockey outdoors is good. It's a good outdoor
And it doesn't matter if it's snowing either. You can keep on doing it. That's the best part.
I play a lot of park basketball in the summer. It's nice.
Anthony saying, Bilal opened as a favorite. Bilal opened minus 225, and then in the line shot right up immediately. So whether that was the truth or not. Petr Yan taking on Sean O'Malley. Great fight.
It should be a really fun fight. It is wild. Again, you kind of forget how young Petr Yan really is when it comes to when it comes to just his overall MMA career, because he has accomplished so much. He's only 29 years old. Sean O'Malley himself is 27, but you assume O'Malley's, a decade younger than a guy like Yan is.
And second tallest UFC bantamweight. Like, where does Cole Miller fit into all of this?
Cole Miller could have been a flyweight at like 7'1". He was built like Chet Holmgren and Bol Bol.
Chet Holmgren.
He's going to be awesome.
The feet didn't hold up, but man, was that guy good.
Listen, the feet didn't hold... He's had one injury his whole entire life. It's not like he's had a bunch of them. He's not Zion.
Sean O'Malley still repping the O on the record.
Got into our chat and told us that.
Yeah, he did. He was on a show. He did hit that one up. Sean O'Malley. Adding the tattoos. Sean O'Malley. Not as much as Nikita Krylov, though. Krylov went off.
Wow.
And a lot of guys with pink wigs. Boys, they're going to be in a bad way in Abu Dhabi if Sean O'Malley loses or wins.
Yeah, if Petr Yan goes in there and, like, Silva DeAndrades him, just gets into crucifix and elbows this poor guy's head into the ground, I'll feel kind of bad for him.
Petr Yan.
He is a stud, Craig Hart.
There's a lot of people I wouldn't want to fight. Francis Ngannou.
Those one-handed, like, front flips he just did where he walked into the cage, like I don't even know what it is. The cartwheel that Petr Yan does where he just, like, stands on one hand as the flip is insane.
Rebel Reseller watched Shorzy for the first time. I haven't watched Shorzy. Watched Letterkenny. That's great. It's all great. Jason Herzog, referee. We'll get the 5-minute timer ready for round number 1. Yan versus O'Malley. An amazing fight. All right. Sugar Sean starting off in the squat. Like he's Jason Veritas.
Sean O'Malley doesn't look nervous.
All right. Round number 1 between these two guys. Sean O'Malley out of Southpaw. Petr Yan orthodox. Oblique kick attempt there from O'Malley.
I'm curious to see how aggressive Petr Yan's going to be too. Maybe he just doesn't respect the striking style of O'Malley, and maybe he thinks O'Malley's cut from the same cloth he is, to where he's going to want to try to download my game plan before he really unloads. Maybe we'll see a more aggressive Petr Yan as a result.
Sean O'Malley hanging out near the block line. Petr Yan looking to pressure this action forward.
And O'Malley is an exceptionally fast fighter even when moving backwards. That's the one thing about him that's never going to change.
Body kick into a stance switch there from O'Malley. Kick did not land. Hit the air.
And not that they fight in very similar styles, but just with their hand speed, O'Malley does remind me a lot of like a young Vitor Belfort. That was always the thing they brought up about Vitor was, hey, gotta watch out for this guy's hand speed. And even later on in his career, it was just so good when he was younger that he still maintained it even late. Again, it's just his durability didn't hold up. But that's the one thing about O'Malley, that it's just insane.
Southpaw and orthodox looks from both of these guys, Yan and O'Malley, both switching stances. Minute into the first round between these two guys.
Good head movement by O'Malley so far. Straight left.
Nice little left there from O'Malley, and he doesn't like the extended hands there from Yan. And we've seen fighters, Matt, that like to extend the fingers and then lose that advantage when they're told that they gotta close it up and make a fist. Not part of the whole hand fighting game.
But the honest truth is, you can still kind of get a lot of the same work done. It really is just more of a mental block, I think. You are right, but I don't really know how much that affects them.
Nice little right hand there from Sean O'Malley. And looked like there was a fist there from Petr Yan, but who am I to say? Nice leg kick there from Yan. Nice right hand lands for Sean O'Malley.
That's the thing about O'Malley. Ooh, that was good head movement by Petr Yan. These guys are very high-level strikers.
Body kick attempt there from Yan. 2 minutes into round number 1. A lot of these kicks here.
And to go off that point that you were bringing up about when will Sean O'Malley be ready for the 5-round atmosphere, and is he ready for it now? I think the fact that this is 3 rounds does benefit O'Malley quite a bit. Again, Petr Yan's a guy whose style does lend to 5 rounds very effectively. He gets better as the fight builds.
Yeah, Petr Yan really going for a big-time wing. Missed on that left hand.
But he's come millimeters away from a couple, like, borderline fight enders.
And O'Malley having some good success here from the outside. He's not landing a ton of volume, but neither guy really is. And for Petr Yan, just trying to figure out how to close that distance.
Yeah, O'Malley's doing an effective job darting in and out. Good takedown attempt by Petr Yan, though, up against the cage.
Looked like a fence grab there for O'Malley on that takedown attempt.
Could have been. I didn't really see. I was focused on Petr.
Putting a hand down, no knees to the head. Petr Yan knows this.
But this is something we brought up all week, really. That Petr Yan is probably the more likely of the two to go for his own offensive takedown. He does have really good top control with his game. Good ground and pound. He can threat with submissions a little bit, too.
Nice knee there in the clinch from Yan, and they break. 2 minutes remaining.
Good left hand, though, by O'Malley as Yan was trying to frame off. Yan's looking to almost do like the Rampage Jackson, kind of cover up and then land your own power shots afterwards.
Less than 2 minutes remain. Yan trying to pressure forward, but O'Malley doing a good job on the back foot.
O'Malley's a good example of a fighter, though. He does use his range well. He's not like a Stefan Struve, if you will. He can just collapse the distance quick.
Yan looking to change things up, going for a big-time double leg. Does he have his hands wrapped? Hard to see right here. He picks up O'Malley and he dumps him.
Gets him above his head and gets him down.
A good takedown here for Petr Yan. He's trying to wrap the legs.
Position. There we go. Now he pulls his weight and gets on top of him. Good job by Petr Yan. I still think he's going to need some effective work, though, from this position to really seal the round. It's been a close one up until this point.
Very close action here. Closing in on a minute remaining. Sean O'Malley looking to go for an armbar. Looking to go for a triangle. Now he accepts guard.
And you do expect O'Malley to be active off his back. I think it's going to be really difficult, though, to get some type of a Hail Mary submission off your back against a type of fighter like Petr Yan. Again, imagine thinking to yourself, if Aljamain Sterling did it, then anybody can. Like, that's not the case. Aljamain Sterling's one of the best grapplers in the UFC.
About 40 seconds remaining. O'Malley's looking to try and gain things back. Win this round back in his favor. Nice leg kick there from Yan.
I thought O'Malley landed a right hand there that might have stunned Yan. I don't think it did, but just upon initial review.
Yan looking to pressure forward, walk him down. Keeping that high shell. O'Malley looking to just put those numbers up.
O'Malley's doing a good job, though, just being an intelligent striker. Throw a lot of volume, make him bring his hands up, and then try to expose the weaknesses in his defense.
Phoenix saying Sean's breathing heavy. Nice leg kick from Yan. 10 seconds left. Really eager to see where the scores are at on this one. Takedown attempt from Sean O'Malley. Grabs the back. Yan defends the takedown.
Yeah. Really good takedown defense by Petr Yan there.
That's the end of that round. It's going to be a tough one to score. I get a 10-9 O'Malley.
I have no idea. Again, that's as close to a 10-10 as you can possibly have. I like the takedown from Petr Yan. That was really nice to see. I thought O'Malley was the better striker at range. He didn't land anything that really was a fight-altering shot, if you will, but I did think he was able to land a few clean shots at distance. I like the slam from Yan. I guess I'd score that higher than you would just the average kind of single-leg takedown. But I'll agree with you. I'll say Sean O'Malley 10-9. But it's going to be one of those ones where if two judges have it 10-9 for Sean O'Malley and one judge has it 10-9 Petr Yan, I'm not going to sit here and disagree with them.
Pablo saying O'Malley with the takedown attempt. Haha, nice. Amoy Kerr, close first round. 10-9 Yan, giving it to O'Malley. Really impressed with how relaxed O'Malley was.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, too. Again, not that the bright lights are always something that's going to affect a fighter, but it can. Like, the moment can get to anybody in any sport, no matter what the time is. This is the biggest opportunity Sean O'Malley has ever had. He is in the Middle East fighting in an arena that was specially made for the UFC against a former champion. It doesn't get any bigger than this, and he did look really good and calm in that first round.
All right, we get set for round number 2. Title eliminator at 135 pounds. Both guys take center of the cage. Yan looking to pressure forward. He's coming out hot.
I like the threat in there with the leg kick just to add up to the body kick. That was a good little move there by Yan.
Just based on the rules, Yan won the first round. What?
I think it was close, Phoenix.
Ooh, really nice.
Big left hand by Sean O'Malley. O'Malley might be hurt a little bit. He's on the back foot.
Yan's really trying to grasp at straws here, and good job from O'Malley in that one. That left hand landed. Petr Yan, are the cobwebs cleared?
The range of O'Malley. Oh! Big left hand by Petr Yan. He did that same combination to Corey Sandhagen when he fought him.
Gets the back, and Sean O'Malley, you talk about cobwebs. They look like they're there now for O'Malley.
These guys have both been stunned in the first minute of the second round.
He looks like he just woke up on a Sunday morning.
I think you're really stretched it a bit now. He got hurt, though, by that big left hand.
Yan now here in the guard of Sean O'Malley. A minute into this round. This is the action.
As back and forth as an opening minute can be. It looked like it was all O'Malley there. He had Petr Yan retreating, but Yan hit that classic switch stance into his overhand, and there's not a lot you can do at that point.
O'Malley's trying to work his jiu-jitsu game off his back. Now holding on.
And the thing about threatening with a leg lock like that is unless you're a guy like a Cal Bahalio, it's going to be really hard to try to avoid eating shots from the top position if you're threatening for leg locks. That's why we don't see them in MMA a lot.
Nice elbow there from Petr Yan. O'Malley really trying to grab this arm. Might have it.
Wide open to this second round.
Sean O'Malley back up to his feet. Petr Yan on his own takedown. Good job by Yan,
though, sticking with him. Didn't let him get the separation he needed to continue back up to his feet. That was a really good job by Yan.
Phoenix really trying to argue it. For me, Phoenix, it was the damage on the effective striking from Sean O'Malley that he had in the first round versus the takedowns of Petr Yan, but we can agree to disagree. Foot stomps!
I like it.
From Petr Yan. A rarely seen move in the MMA space.
It just feels like it's a gentleman's agreement between both fighters. I won't stomp your feet, you won't stomp mine, but Petr Yan don't play by those games.
O'Malley playing the defense in this second round between these two gentlemen at bantamweight.
And I'll be curious to see if both guys become more aggressive or more tentative because they've both been hurt now in the second round, so they know that there's real repercussions for walking into big shots.
Ozzy Neto.
A little bit of damage
I'm not
for the
about
eye.
Playing politics over in the comments section. Halfway through this round. Ooh, the old trip takedown from Sean O'Malley. You love to see it.
From Petr Yan.
I meant to say Petr Yan. O'Malley came out of my mouth.
TJ Dillashaw. Or CB
Ooh,
Dolo.
big right hand there lands for Petr Yan. O'Malley with the fake out.
I like it. It kind of worked, oddly enough. Oh, I love this fight so far.
Closing in on 2 minutes remaining. Both these guys having successes. Sean O'Malley walks into a right hand off his own leg.
Petr Yan's really been a lot more aggressive ever since they've got back up to the feet. I think he likes what he's seen at a few of these reads from Sean O'Malley, and I think I agree with, I apologize, I don't remember who the commenter was, but that O'Malley is slowing down a little bit. I think Yan can fight at this pace for days probably, much less just 3 rounds.
Yeah, you had a nice jab there, but you have to wonder,
right hand by O'Malley.
You go to Tiger Muay Thai, what's that sparring like?
I think they
good body kick there for Yan.
Right hand by Sean on the inside, though. He's still dangerous. That's why you can't just go for him and try to go for the finish. Because it'll look like Jan's having a lot of success with his forward movement, and on the in-between, he'll eat a big shot.
The meatloaf took the words right out of my mouth. A minute and a half remains here in the second round. This is definitely a bigger round for Yan if we're splitting hairs in the first round.
I would agree with that, but the wild thing is, Sean O'Malley still had his best moment of the fight in this round, especially at the beginning, and he's maintained how dangerous he is throughout this round. You can't just get wild and go for the finish. That's how technical he is.
Minute 10 remain here. O'Malley on the back foot lands a couple of nice shots.
And that's the version of Sean O'Malley that's the best one. Always putting something on you, hitting you with the jab, going with the straights, not just trying to load up for the big shot.
Jan going for a takedown. We might see a guillotine here. Loses it.
I don't know if O'Malley wants to end up underneath Jan again. I think he landed some good ground and pound shots there.
50 seconds left. Nice takedown from Piotr Jan. And he's going to try and dump those legs, get O'Malley back on his back once more.
Round 1 was really close. Both guys did have chances, but round 2's definitely been Piotr Jan's. Landed the biggest shot, got a knockdown, got takedowns, had a lot more success.
Jan doing a decent job here in the second round, looking to try and land some more of those elbows. O'Malley just looking to get back up to his feet. Are you surprised that O'Malley hasn't had any success with his jiu-jitsu off his back?
That was my big... I didn't think he was going to in this fight. I thought Piotr Jan was a much better fighter in the top position. I didn't think O'Malley... Like, you have to be so much better than your opponent to get a submission off your back at the UFC level. Like, unless you're Brian Ortega or Fabricio Verdum, it doesn't happen. So, I don't think Sean O'Malley... I think he's good at grappling. I don't think he's that level, though, no matter how much training he does do.
No, and the perception definitely takes a big hit after this fight, for sure. We'll have a look at those total numbers. Depending on how you scored the first round, a lot of 10-9s for Jan, some 10-9s for O'Malley as well. I've got it split 19-19, but Jan did some very, very good work in that second round.
He did. And after he got wobbled, too, in the opening, 10 seconds, it seemed like, of the round. So, really nice to see Piotr Jan have that composure, came back, landed, like we're seeing right now, his best shot of the fight. Just been a really good fight so far. And again, it doesn't look like Sean O'Malley is the 15th ranked guy fighting the first ranked guy, if you will. It's been a really competitive fight for, well, up until this point. I know Jan has the momentum for sure, and Jan looks like he's on his way. But I don't feel like O'Malley's in over his head by any means.
61% of the voters at Fight Night Picks on Instagram had Piotr Jan to get the win. 39% with O'Malley. All depends on, again, that first round. How it was scored, and we'll see what goes down in the second. I'm going to incur O'Malley needs to tighten up that striking. We'll see what happens here. Had some good shots even into the end of that last round, but it was the takedown defense that really cost them there.
And that's why even if O'Malley does get hurt by a big shot, does get rocked, it's going to be really difficult for Jan to just go in there and try to land big combinations. We've seen it a few times where O'Malley's moving backwards, looks like he's almost stuck against the cage, and that's where he'll land a nice shot on the in-between and then circle back out. So, still being a very dangerous fighter.
Good body kick there from O'Malley. He's going to have to lean on the fact that we've seen historical levels of volume from him and accuracy throughout his UFC tenure. Looking to try and get those numbers up here to start this round.
And
double
I'll go
up,
back
triple up.
to what we said earlier. Like, even if the live odds have a Piotr Jan at like a -3, -400, they're both probably at one round apiece. So it's really hard to see one guy that much ahead of another. As Sean Bitter has it 2-1 for Jan, though.
Definitely trust his opinion. Looking like Bronstetter. The Canadians got it that way, too. There we go. Kevin Ioli's got it 19-19. Maybe I'll see him at a Golden Knights game next month. Golden Knights. Kevin Ioli. Gonna go see them. About 45 seconds into this round. Some good volume numbers here from Sean O'Malley. But again, really eager to see if we make it to the judges, how they have this so far.
100%. Again, round 1 very close. Round 2, obvious, was Piotr Jan's. But not a lot happened in the opening minute of this third round. Both guys just really feeling it out.
Sean O'Malley looking to land some volume.
He's so big for this weight class. Tries to land that straight left over the top. Jan doing a good job defensively. Again, Jan does need more, though. It's still probably only tied 1 round apiece, so you really want to look good in this third.
About 3.5 minutes remain here in the third round. Neither guy really fighting with a giant sense of urgency.
Good shot to the body there by Piotr Jan as O'Malley tries to get back with a few double jabs. Jan's doing a really good job defensively, though. I'd say about midway through the second round up until this point. Unless he is overextending with his own strikes, O'Malley's had a really hard time initiating his own offense.
O'Malley looking to defend another takedown attempt here from Jan. He's got that foot high.
Got that flexible hamstring, doesn't he?
Gives it away. Nice body kick there from Sean O'Malley.
That was good shot over the top.
Cut on
Jan's
Piotr
got a
Jan.
cut, too. Wow.
Good head kick from O'Malley.
Haven't seen Jan face a lot of adversity on the back foot. That's a nice knee, too. Jan's got to watch out.
Rebel reseller Bronstetter one of the best. Nice body kick from Jan.
And again, I don't think this is a round Jan can just give away as he lands a
No.
nice overhand right and left. Oh, good left hook. That one might have wobbled Sean O'Malley as he's moving forward.
Nice leg kick here from Jan.
Really intelligent striking out of Piotr Jan, but O'Malley... Oh, O'Malley almost landed a big head kick. Good sprawl by Sean
Possibly
O'Malley.
a good takedown defended here from O'Malley. We'll see if Jan can dump him back one more time. Jan going for the back. O'Malley back up to his feet halfway through the round.
The fun thing about this fight, though, is now I think Sean O'Malley's elite. Now I want to see him fight other really good fighters in the weight class. So that's good.
If he loses, not Chris Gutierrez?
No, I don't think Chris Gutierrez is ready for this.
Be cool if he was. Closing in on 2 minutes remaining. Jan looking for that takedown.
Sean's looked really good in this third round, too, I'd say, up until this point. I know Jan's had some big strikes on the in-betweens, but O'Malley's looked good.
O'Malley went to try for a guillotine, and then he did get taken down. Jan with a big opportunity here, less than 2 minutes remaining. If he can get some good ground and pound
Jan's
off.
bleeding, though, bad.
Could get this round back. O'Malley's grabbing that arm, the Kimura lock.
Doing a good job. Probably just going to use that to threaten to get back up to his feet, but that's a good move to just avoid getting hit in the head.
Got Jan's blood on his face. O'Malley back up to his feet. Jan still in on this takedown attempt.
90 seconds left in this fight. Anything could still happen.
Debbie's saying O'Malley won. There's a minute and a half left.
Still anybody's fight, unless Debbie's ahead of us in the fights.
Debbie's there.
We're getting live.
Debbie's
comments.
just Daniel Cormier.
Oh my goodness.
But a minute 15
1-2 by
remaining.
O'Malley.
Jason Herzog getting a good look at that cut.
I'm telling you right now, this is a fight where someone's going to cry robbery no matter what. If we don't get a stop.
Oh, both guys throwing leather.
That was
Neither
close.
one a tanner. It hits air. Oh!
Big shot by Piotr Jan. O'Malley wore it well, though. I know he got taken down, but a lesser man would have folded to that.
Oh, my goodness.
I have no
50
idea
seconds
what's
remain.
going on this.
A little bit of a fence grab there from O'Malley. Jason, a little bit of a fence grab
push,
there from
though.
O'Malley. Big fence grab from O'Malley.
I don't think it helped him get out of that, though.
40 seconds remain.
Just a great fight.
Piotr Jan bleeding like a stuck pig.
That's the thing. There's not a lot of guys in the division that can damage Piotr Jan like this on the feet.
Good shots here from O'Malley.
Maybe a Dillashaw?
Killishaw. 25 seconds remain. Will we have a big action before the end of this one?
Tough fight to score. That is a gross cut.
Jan with another takedown.
He needs more work, though. He needs to get good ground and pound going.
15 seconds left. This is anybody's fight.
I have no idea who won this. It's going to be a very difficult fight to score. I think round 1 and 3 were very close. Round 2 was obviously Piotr Jan's. But by me saying round 1 and 3 were very close, it does open the door for O'Malley to get a 29-28 decision.
I had a 29-28 O'Malley round 1, round 3. But that's a really close fight. That was a great fight.
I think Piotr Jan won that fight 29-28. Again, the only round that you can confidently say either guy won 100% was probably Piotr Jan in that second round, and that's why I do like Jan in the fight. But Sean O'Malley made a great account of himself. Again, for being somebody that people thought didn't even deserve to like an opportunity like this, people didn't think he deserved to be fighting the former champion like Piotr Jan. He made a great account of himself. Really nice striking to it to Sean O'Malley. We all knew that's what his bread and butter is, but still, the fact that he was able to go out there and put on, not a showcase, but still have really good success on the feet against a guy who we know is good defensively in Piotr Jan, which is really nice to see from Sean O'Malley. But again, people are going to cry robbery either way, I think. That's just how close of a fight it was.
Let us know in that comment section how you score it. Debbie says 2-1 for O'Malley. Sam is saying Jan edged it for me. Brandon saying a split for Jan. Frosty saying Jan. Morg saying, holy cow, that was incredible. It definitely was. Jack saying Jan squeaked it out. It was really good, but I feel Jan barely wins it. Win, lose, or draw. Yeah, Sean O'Malley just gained a ton of stock.
Oh, without a doubt. Sean O'Malley, a real MFer, without a doubt. Like, he's a tough fighter. He faced adversity, too. Got dropped by Jan in the second round, or at least rocked very, very badly. Got hurt again the third round, it looked like, by a check hook, too. But, yeah, for all the flair, all the wild hair and the stuff, like, Sean O'Malley's about this life, for sure.
We'll see how those lads made out in the stands that had the pink wigs and the glasses. Doesn't seem like
they're going to be heartbroken if O'Malley
doesn't seem like a
doesn't
good
get
idea in the UAE regardless, but they went for it. Shoot your shot. Will has it 29-28 for Jan.
Enough, Rusty.
Phoenix O'Malley is the better fighter. Well, if you win, I guess. Daniel O'Malley won easy, 1-3. We get the decision. That was a weird cut. Bruce Buffer's in the cage. Augusto Mendez, Tim Welch.
Again, not a robbery no matter who wins. Really good fight between those two guys. Probably going to be a split, I'd imagine.
Yep. For the winner by split decision. Sean O'Malley gets the win by split decision over Petr Yan as a giant underdog. What a win for Sean O'Malley. The pink wig men are happy. None bigger for Sean O'Malley than that. Wow. Definitely round 1 and round 3.
I would say
that's obviously... He gets a title shot now.
Does he, though?
Yeah, he does, Matt. Dana White said he did.
So you get so aggressive if anybody disagrees. Then I'm really excited to see him get the winner of the next fight, I guess. I think O'Malley versus Dillashaw is a super exciting fight no matter where that fight takes place. We all just saw how tough O'Malley is when the fight gets tough. Petr Yan landed some clean shots on his chin that he was able to weather. His striking looked really good on the outside. That's the thing, too. If you want to give him the third round, I think it was based a lot on that cut that he got on Petr Yan. It's really hard to win that back after you've done something that damaging on your opponent, but great fight for Sean O'Malley. It was a big step up in competition. He was able to look really good. Again, no matter who you had winning that fight, I think it was a really close fight, but that was a great performance by Sean O'Malley. Just like I said while it was going on, it's one of those fights that just makes you excited to see him fight other guys in the top of the division, no matter who's next. So, again, whether it's Sterling, whether it's Dillashaw, Marlon Vera, I'm assuming, is out there in the future. We're going to see him fight probably a Merab Dvalishvili one day. Like, there's some great fighters in this division. I think it's going to result in some really fun fights moving forward. Just wild to see Petr Yan now on, what, a 3-fight losing streak?
2.
Is it only 2? Well, I guess he lost the Sterling first fight. Lost the second.
Sterling, beat Sandhagen.
Sorry, I forgot the Sandhagen happened in between. But really good jump up for Sean O'Malley.
Giant win for Sean O'Malley to get the win there. And again, now he gets a title shot between the winner of Aljamain Sterling and TJ Dillashaw. 2 great fighters. I mean, Waffle, you're hitting up the super chat. Got odds 70. I don't know what you're talking about at all. That's the most random super chat we've ever gotten. Thanks for that.
Super chat, so thank you.
I don't know what you're saying. I apologize. Eric G, I don't know how I came across your channel, but you're actually pretty good. Thank you. Thank you, Eric G. Didn't get that one right. But Brandon Yan made O'Malley an honest man. That's for sure. You're definitely right there. Yeah, just a huge step up for Sean O'Malley to go from, the competition he was facing, the Pedro Munoz fight with question marks, to then come in and get a win over the former champ like that. I mean, that's huge. That is huge. That's just like, Cody Garbrandt had to beat Dominic Cruz. Sean O'Malley beats Petr Yan, the former champ. Amaway Kerr. Parlays are still alive. What a fight.
It really isn't in with the new, out with the old right now in the bantamweight division. It's kind of wild to see. That's why it's going to be crazy to see Frankie Edgar have his retirement fight. I know he's not a long-time bantamweight fighter, but still. Just the fact that we are seeing a lot of these long-time UFC veterans that have been around for so long starting to lose some of the flair, if you will, at the top of the division. I guess Jan's not. He hasn't been around forever and ever. He's still very much in the mix, but a lot of new, fresh faces at the top of this bantamweight division. I think it's going to make for a fun revolving door, I think, of champions. Because I don't really think anybody's leaps and bounds ahead of the next one, and that's what makes the division so much fun.
Yeah, and a great opportunity, of course, for O'Malley to get that fight, to take on the winner of Dillashaw. And, of course, you look at it for Aljamain Sterling. If he can get the win, does he actually get any respect?
I don't think he really cares, to be honest with you. He's already champion. He hasn't got any up until this point. I think it's going to be a really big-time fight as they showcase Jason Derulo in the crowd. I didn't think he'd be a big UFC guy.
Especially across the world.
That is the Korean Zombie, isn't it? I hope he's the most famous everywhere he goes. Bilal Muhammad's in the crowd now after being in a crazy fight of his own. This should be a fun fight, though, for the bantamweight title. Again, we just saw sort of a new breed fighter take out another one. I'll be curious to see if we see more of the same when Aljamain Sterling takes on TJ Dillashaw. It's interesting, though, because DJ has been around for a really long time, but he's not necessarily old in MMA years. He didn't have that long layoff. I know it was based off of a PED suspension, but still, that's a long time for your body to recover. He had mentioned that himself as to why he looked good in the Corey Sandhagen fight. It gave himself 2 years to kind of reassess his body. I know he got shoulder surgeries in that time off, too, so maybe we'll see a better version of TJ, but the reason I do like Sterling in this fight is I keep on going back to the fact, okay, you look good after one layoff. You can't keep on doing this, though, every time. Normally we do see ring rest at a certain point. You look good after shoulder surgery. I don't know how good you're going to look after ACL surgery. I don't think you're going to be able to go back to your wrestling as just sort of an alternate for your striking like he was able to do against Corey Sandhagen. The wrestling was always able to win out against Sandhagen, where if we see TJ Dillashaw start to wrestle with Aljamain Sterling, I think that's a very poor idea.
And I see it over there in the chat. Ricardo saying, seems like they just pick and choose what they judge as criteria at this point. Damage over control and over over the takedowns. And I know you're trying to argue that Jan's takedowns are great, and they were good, and he did decent work with the takedowns. But O'Malley popped back up and did more work with the striking. You saw the big cut that Jan had sustained. You saw some of the big shots from Sean O'Malley. That's how he was able to win the fight if he was the one that got the win, which he did.
I think that it was a close fight. Again, I don't think there's any reason arguing close fights. There's bad judges sometimes, and then there's just close fights, guys. That's all it is. Like, I don't get up in arms about judging. It's bad every single week. You want to know what's going to happen next weekend? We're going to disagree with 5 more of them, so I don't lose any sleep.
Matt, Brother's out now. Do you like Bad Bunny?
He's so famous, Craig. I didn't realize how big of a deal Bad Bunny was until I did, like, the Google search on it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of listening to music that's in a language that I don't speak. It doesn't do much for me, but Bad Bunny's a big deal.
Like, genuine global superstar to, like, levels that I didn't understand. And he's friends with Marlon Vera, which is cool.
Marlon Vera's cool, yeah.
Marlon Vera seems like a very cool guy.
Ice cold, Matt. Sterling Dillashaw. Dollar Dillashaw. When you look at this matchup, though, for Aljamain Sterling, a lot of people, they weren't, they weren't hip to the run. They didn't like the first Jan fight with, a reason, I guess I should say. The illegal knee was what it was. But for Sterling to have the performance in his last matchup, definitely didn't gain a lot with the fans, which kind of surprised me. But now he's taking on Dillashaw, a guy who, snake in the grass, so on and so forth. Excuse me, but it seems like this is a fight between two guys that not a lot of people are really high on. With Dillashaw, there's the PED camp. With Sterling, there's just the camp of, we don't like your fights, they're boring. But I'll tell you what, I like both of these guys. I like watching them fight. It's a lot of fun. A lot of action.
Can't disagree with the people who don't like it, though, that's all. You like it, they don't. You like vanilla, they like chocolate. Just, for Aljamain Sterling, he doesn't get a lot of finishes. He's a very dominant fighter, but I always liken it to when Greg Hardy had fought Alexander Volkov. Volkov was just better, didn't get the finish, never really hurt him one time. He was just so much better in a lot of areas that you were like, okay, 30-27, he was never really in much trouble. With Aljamain Sterling, he does a very similar style, but again, it comes with his grappling. We all remember that crazy Sulawev stretch that he had against Cody Stamann back in the day, so he's a very high-level submission grappler as well. But I think this could be a fun fight. Again, I've said this many times. I think out of the top 10, because I do think a bantamweight is a revolving door. I don't think anyone's going to hold the championship for all that long. I think we're probably going to get a new champion every year, because again, I keep on going back to it. A lot of great fighters in this division. But out of all these revolving door champions, if you will, that we could have, I think TJ is built to beat a guy like Aljamain Sterling. I know my pick is still Aljo, but TJ has good counter wrestling. He is a very talented striker. He's a good enough grappler to where if Aljo does wrap him up on the ground, yes, Aljo might win the round, but I think TJ is good enough to avoid the big submission threat of Aljamain Sterling. And if that's the case, then maybe TJ can put together a really interesting game plan on the feet. But I think Aljo's reached a level with his striking now to where if it is primarily contested on the feet, his volume gives guys a lot of trouble.
And the nice thing about Aljamain Sterling is it's the fact that he has the background in wrestling, D2 All-American when he was in college. But if you look at it from Sterling, just from a pure grappling perspective, where striking comes secondary, and you look like a guy who's thinking as he's striking, he can flow a lot better now at this point in his career. And you touched on it with the kicks. I mean, Sterling's the type of guy, he's going to kick to the body, he's going to kick to the legs. He's not hot and heavy with the head kicks, as Dmitry Smolyakov was behind TJ Dillashaw. He was a co-main eventer one time with the UFC. He fought one Greg Hardy, who you would mention. I remember. But in this matchup, Matt, TJ Dillashaw, could he be more well-rounded? We'll find that out tonight.
I think these fighters are both in the exact same camp. It's just if you split them, one's like 70-30 and the other's 30-70, if you will. I think Sterling's probably 70-30 with his grappling to striking ratio, whereas Dillashaw's probably the other way around. But I still think they're very well-rounded, and that's the fun thing about this fight. Again, if it's contested on the feet, it should be entertaining. Clinch, ground, no matter who's wrestling, I think this fight should be entertaining for as long as it's contested at. And the good thing about the bantamweight division, too, is we get a lot of finishes. A lot of people think, oh, they're only 135 pounds. Get knockouts, we get submissions, you get head kicks. Like, bantamweight really is as good of a division as any in the UFC. If you want to say it's the best, I'm not going to argue with you. I think for me, I'd probably have lightweight a little bit ahead of it.
It's not middleweight, regardless.
It's not middleweight, exactly. Bantamweight is as strong of a division as any in the UFC. So, I think this is going to be a very, very fun fight.
Well, and a great opportunity for both men and for TJ Dillashaw. He obviously wants to kind of knockout Dominic Cruz as the greatest bantamweight of all time. You definitely have a strong case if you become a three-time champ.
In the bantamweight division, there isn't really a cemented greatest of all time. Like, even with Dominic Cruz, yes, he has a lot of really good wins, but he doesn't really have the length of schedule, not really the strength of schedule that a lot of other GOATs do because he did miss so much time due to injury. TJ has a good claim. Brandon Barao, again, it was weird because he defended an interim title, which you don't normally see all that often. Normally they would just strip the champion and then promote you to the normal champion. But it's with Bantamweight, it does feel like every single time the champion wins, it's like, oh, have they now become the GOAT?
Well, and for Aljamain Sterling, like, you talk about the run that he's on, and again, like, people always have question marks about fighters, you always will, but you look at it, 21-3 over the entire body of work. You look at the win streak that he's on right now, his last time out, gets a win by split over Petr Yan, before that Petr Yan, and then again, Corey Sandhagen with that quick, slick finish that he gets by submission, Pedro Munoz, Jimmy Rivera, Cody Stamen, Brett Johns, a lot of grapplers. Just a lot of them. Straight up, a lot of grapplers. The loss to Marlon, and that really set Marlon apart and got him on his stride. And that was a huge win for Aljamain Sterling. Or sorry, for Marlon Moraes. And then, of course, he had the fight against Henry Cejudo after a bit. And we all remember that one. And now Marlon's going to fight Shane Burgos over with.
That's a really bad fight for Marlon.
How wild of a career arc has it been for Marlon? From retiring against, his last opponent to now he's back. And he's going to fight Shane Burgos with the PFL. Wild stuff. Wild.
That's a really, 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 really bad fight for Marlon.
It is
a terrible one.
It is.
You're fighting a guy who's way bigger than you, throws a lot of volume, and has good power behind it, too.
Yep.
Not great.
Not a good one.
Is he coming out to Can't Stop? Yeah,
Can't Stop, Addicted to the Shindig. TJ Dillashaw. Do you think he's a fan of 2 Red Hot Chili Peppers albums in 1 year?
Probably.
I think he likes that.
I don't think he's against it. He probably doesn't listen to them like front to back, both. He probably did for the first album.
Just goes on Apple Music, looks for the one with the star on it, and then only listens to those songs.
I'm going to out one of my best friends right now. This is the hottest take I've ever heard someone give to me over dinner. And I only listen to the top 5 songs of every artist. He doesn't go he thinks it's a deep cut. If it's their 6th most popular song, he doesn't care if it's Drake, if it's Nickelback, if they're the most popular singer in the world. If it's not a top 5 song, it's not good enough for him.
Like how I played,
That's ridiculous.
I had a deep cut of Puddle of Mud in our promo that we had on Instagram.
That has nothing to do with what I just said.
But my point is, probably never heard it because he's not going past that top 5. Only listening to Blurry. That's the only Puddle of Mud song.
It's such an absurd way to walk around life. Just being like, oh, yeah. You ever heard of these 2 songs by Red Hot Chili Peppers? Because they're all I know.
Doesn't listen to Leader of Men by Nickelback. It's only Photograph.
Does not. It's a lot of Enter Sandman, a lot of Master of Puppets, and that's about it. We had a cousin like that growing up, too.
Had a Tech 9 CD.
He only knew what One and Enter Sandman were by Metallica until we were about 19 years old, but he ran those into the ground.
TJ Dillashaw, punching the cage, that makes you better.
It does.
You absorb the cage's powers.
You eat nails for breakfast, you punch a cage, you get better at fighting. I don't make the rules, Craig, I just follow them. I do not like the way TJ looked at the weigh-ins or press conference. He did look a little bit drained, but maybe that could just be a fact that he is getting a little bit up there with his age at this point. Again, 36 is not young to be in the bantamweight division by any means.
No, only Douglas Silva de Andrade makes it look easy in the lower weight classes.
You're forgetting about a man.
And Ronnie Yaya.
Guido Canetti would like a word with you right now.
He's 42.
He's a man. Exactly. Every bit of it. How many ladies have been approached at a grocery store and just Guido being like, hey, you watched my fight last weekend? You see the stoppage? You like my grappling?
But where do you train? Oh, our town MMA.
Exactly.
Your town? Oh, yes. Oh, our town.
It could be yours, too. Oh, my goodness, Guido. You silver-tongued bastard.
Guido Canetti, the guy.
The Dos Equis man ever passes away. I know who's going to replace him.
Guido Canetti. We could all learn something from him. Aljamain Sterling making the long walk to the cage.
What does he walk out to?
No clue.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It's a slow burn as we get Ray Longo and crew. Ali Quinto looks like a welterweight now. He does not look like a lightweight anymore. Todd Johnson likes
It's not that big of a jump. If you're like, wow, he looks like he gained 10 pounds.
So, the total votes on MMA decisions, I'm gonna count them. 1, 2, 3. You can talk for a second.
Yeah, I don't care about again, my eyes are going to roll back into my head when you read me this. Yeah. People like you and me are really split. And me, who's
19
like you and me.
had it 29-28 Jan, and you had 7 of them that had him 30-27 Jan. Nobody scored it for Sean O'Malley.
I had it for Jan. Again, I thought round 2 was the only round that you could convincingly say either one definitely won, right? Round 1 was close, round 3 was close. I thought round 1 O'Malley did enough. I thought round 3 was close. Again, the cut is a good point to bring up. It is damage oriented, but still. Other than the cut, I do think Jan landed some really big shots on the in-betweens. He had a couple really nice hooks in open space. So, again, I ever so slightly had it for Jan. I don't disagree with people who had it for Sean O'Malley, though.
Tricky fight in a bantamweight division that's loaded with talent. And in this fight, in the co-main event for the title, Aljamain Sterling, Ray Longo. What do you like most about
But this
Ray
is what
Longo?
I'm going to say. I never want to hear you bring up MMA decisions when you're like, oh, by the way, all the media thought this guy won. Like, again, I agree. I think
that's a poor argument.
No, really. Like, Sean O'Malley, you thought Sean O'Malley won that fight. I agree. I think there's a world where Sean O'Malley won that fight. I don't disagree with you saying that he won it. I just, the fact that other people who are very similar to you and me put their opinions on a website doesn't really change my outlook on the fight. That's all. A bunch of people texting me about how it's wild Sean got it. I'm surprised it is so one-sided towards Piotr Jan. Again, we're not listening to it with volume. Maybe some of the shots landed a lot harder that we weren't really able to pick up. It's difficult judging fights when you can't hear them. Again, it's very difficult too. You can't hear how heavy everything lands. But yeah, I thought it was a really close fight. I'm surprised seeing it being so one-sided.
Yeah, the judges in this one, Jan got the second round by all 3 of the judges' scorecards, and the other 2 that had it for O'Malley, it was round 1 and round 3. Ben Cartilage and David Leatherby had it that way, and I do like Ben Cartilage. He does a great job. And if I'm not mistaken, he just got his license for Vegas as well, did Ben Cartilage, so good to see. He's out of the UK. As we get set for Sterling and Dillashaw, you've got Marab, you've got Ala Quinta, you've got Ray Longo, and a fella that I don't recognize. Is it Dennis Bazookia? I think it is.
A good quarter, though, by Aljo. Really good guys to be in there.
Phoenix, I have TJ to win this. Doesn't change the fact that he's garbage. LOL. Oh.
Again, interesting fight. 2 guys who are well-rounded, but in very different ways, and I think that's what makes this matchup so much fun.
They're giving TJ Dillashaw that half-inch in height. 5'6.5".
If TJ Dillashaw ever tried to drive to the hoop against me, I would send that ball 10 rows into the crowd. I'd be like a
He'd knock your teeth out, though.
Oh, you mean the thing that's not in the sport that I just brought up that has nothing to do with it?
Habib's good at basketball. He just holds the ball in his hands and runs down the court.
Remember when I said I could block a guy shorter than me and you said he could knock me out? Okay, that happens a lot in basketball. I'm sure a lot of short guys could knock me out. Can't get layups on me, though, because I'm built like Chet Holmgren. I couldn't imagine saying, yeah, he could knock you out. In basketball? Who cares?
I think it's just an oddity of a matchup. I think Dillashaw wouldn't be happy with it.
I just think that's a weird thing to bring up.
Sterling 7-2 with the hair. Mark Goddard, our referee.
Sterling's huge for the weight class. That does have to be said.
Both guys look like they rehydrated quite well. You like to see that.
Dude, again, I'm curious to see if there are any ill effects in the weight cut for Dillashaw. I know he kind of, sort of, maybe didn't really make 125 that one time, but he is getting to a certain age where you know the weight cut is going to have to affect him. Again, like you said, he looks good right now, so I don't think there are going to be any extreme long-term effects of it. And the thing is, too, his cardio could be affected, I should say that. But what my initial thing, what my initial point was going to be is that it's not like Sterling's some thunderous puncher, so let's say it was a difficult weight cut for Dillashaw. I don't think that's going to all of a sudden really accentuate the punching power of Sterling. I don't think Aljamain's all of a sudden going to look like Jeff Neal.
Imagine if he did, though.
He'd be the greatest fighter. If you match the volume and the grappling of Aljamain Sterling with the power,
reservedness and the power of Jeff Neal,
then no one would beat him.
Jeff Neal, his last fight, destroyer.
He looks so good. That fight was close until it wasn't at all.
How weird is it? Santiago Ponzinibbio, Robbie Lawler's a co-main event coming up.
I love Robbie Lawler as an MMA fan. He's been in some of my favorite fights of all time. He's a fighter that I've grown up with and that I've gotten excited every single time he walks into the cage. That's an awful matchup for Robbie Lawler, though. Like, he's really old at this stage of his career. He gets hit, too, and that's the thing. Like, his chin is good. It's not like his chin's fallen off a cliff. He can still eat power shots. But the problem is, I know he can still eat power shots. And against a guy like Santiago Ponzinibbio, who genuinely has, like, next-level power and, hand speed too. I just think it's a bad matchup for Lawler at this stage of his career.
Good opportunity for both of these men. You're looking to cement some legacy in this matchup here. The co-main event, UFC 280, for the title. Malone Hart, seriously? There's only 8 likes? I think just about 100.
But
Frosty's having apples and peanut butter. Is there a better combination? Cheese and peanut butter with a cracker.
Not really a fight night snack, but I respect it. You're looking after yourself.
You gonna go do some cardio? Hit the speed bag after this one?
I'm a big peanut M&Ms. I think those are the best snack you can have.
I like the caramel ones, and I'm not a big caramel
They're
guy.
good, but I just think the crunch that a peanut M&M offers is better than anything any snack food on planet Earth has.
All right, co-main event. 135, Aljamain Sterling, TJ Dillashaw. Sterling coming in hot and heavy and deep in his
I was
stance.
going to say, really comes out aggressive to start the fight, which is interesting to see. I thought he was going to be a little bit more reserved, try to throw with volume from the back foot, but I like what we're seeing so far.
Both guys exchange leg kicks. They both look like they're thinking the same thing, and the speed's there for both guys. Sterling in on a single
Aljo
leg.
with a really high single leg attempt as he's trying to get on top of TJ.
Sterling
Both
with an
guys
early
try.
takedown of Dillashaw, and now he's trying to hold him down, and now he's in
TJ
half.
did a big mistake rolling to his back. He probably could have maintained momentum and got back up to his feet like we saw Usmir do against Krylov, but he rolled back into the takedown, which helped Sterling get on top.
Aljamain Sterling taking down Dillashaw and keeping him down.
Not a place you want to be when you're fighting Aljamain Sterling, I couldn't imagine.
Just a night of what are we doing here? What was TJ Dillashaw doing there?
Aljamain's in full mount almost
Dillashaw looked
immediately.
like he was
Now he's
trying
got
to
back.
fix his glove. What was that?
I wouldn't... Aljamain Sterling's a very good grappler.
Now you got a baseball grip on one arm there from Dillashaw, who's trying to kick.
Isn't it wild how people aren't higher on Aljamain Sterling based on the fact that he choked out?
The wildest part is the view we
Hasbulla
have
in the
now
back.
is Dana White's and Hasbulla just sitting in the background.
Two guys who probably don't have a lot in common.
Hasbulla just watching on the monitor. You got the baseball grip from Dillashaw. Now we saw a lot of holding from Piotr Jan. when
Good
he fought
body shot by
Aljamain
Sterling, sorry.
And Sterling had the back, but Sterling in a great
Sterling's
opportunity
getting
in
some
mount
good
right
ground and
now.
pound off right now. These are
Ooh,
heavy
that hurt.
shots. Oh my
Oh!
goodness! Aljamain Sterling's beating him like he owes some money right now from mount.
Oh, the hammer fist.
Some heavy ground and pound shots by
Oh,
Sterling.
Sterling's got him hurt. He's
hurt.
hurt. He's out.
TJ's stuck underneath. He's not out yet, Mike Goldberg. Goodness gracious. Really good ground and pound, though. TJ's stuck
Dillashaw
in the
is
corner.
hurt.
There's not much he can do to work out of this position.
Goddard's having a good look at this. Now
I think we see a little
Sterling-
bit of blood, too, come from the nose of TJ when he posted on his face there.
There's a submission attempt from Sterling.
Going for a rear naked choke right now.
He's got the hooks in hot and heavy, and he's got a lot of time to work with. We're just under 3 minutes.
You don't want to grapple Aljamain Sterling when you're not the sweatiest MFer going, because when you're dry, he can do whatever he wants.
That left eye looks like it's
I
swollen
was just
for
about to say,
Dillashaw.
might be a little bit damage on the face of Dillashaw. Sterling has him flattened out. He's bending him in half right now.
This crank's hot, but now
Back
he's
into
going to
full
end up
mount,
in
though.
mount.
And the good thing about Sterling is you see a lot of fighters lose that position on the in-between, trying to balance between mount and
You saw
the back.
Bohalio earlier on tonight
Exactly.
really struggled.
Oh, as Dillashaw does a good job exploding, but Sterling's still all over him. Like, that's what I mean. Sterling doesn't give you the opportunity to get the separation to then explode. He's all over you.
Sterling still with the back here. Dillashaw looking to get back up. Neck crank here from
Just
Sterling.
This has been a
Flatten
one-sided
him out.
opening round.
Still 2 minutes left in this round.
This a 10-8 if we've ever seen it out the gates.
Sterling doing a very good job here in this round. Can Dillashaw spin out of this?
Been thunderous ground and pound into threatening with a submission and back and forth.
Aljamain Sterling would not want to fight him.
Really? TJ getting absolutely beat. 10-6 round. Yeah, Pablo. It's been a one-sided affair so far.
Oh,
And Aljo really has upgraded his ground and pound. Like, it used to be a lot more kind of pitter-patter shots to open his opponent to then open up his grappling. But from what we've seen, these are damaging shots in that top position.
Dillashaw trying to turn out of it. He can't. Sterling's now attacking the body.
I thought Sterling was going to try to get a reverse guillotine and bend him back that way. And that would have been disturbing to watch.
These are good shots here.
They are not as damaging as the ones where he has his full weight on top of Dillashaw, but he's really proven that, again, there's levels to the grappling game between
Slamming
these guys.
Dillashaw's head into the cage, and if you'll remember before the fight, Dillashaw tried to beat that cage into his submission.
Dillashaw looks tired, too. Just, again, he's been on the defensive a lot, and again, maybe he gets back up to his feet and looks really good after this point, but this grappling's really worn on TJ.
Yep.
Good jab, too. Now Aljo's starting to land on the feet.
Knee attempt there from Sterling that doesn't land.
Aljo looking fresh.
We'll have to see who's conserved themselves. Dillashaw looks tired.
He really does. Good left hook into a right hand by Aljo.
Dillashaw eating punches, looking to defend the takedown. Double leg from Sterling. Dillashaw defends it.
Doing a good job so far. Aljo's going to continue to chain wrestle, though. And that's the thing about Sterling. You can't just rely on that first takedown defense, can you? He's just so relentless.
Less than 30 seconds left. In round number 1.
I mean, this Aljamain guy's good at fighting, eh?
Dillashaw. Gonna need a butt scoot like Matt Serra's brother Nick.
Only 11 seconds, though. I think Dillashaw's going to be able to get out of this round, but...
That's a 10-8.
Now we know what happens if Aljamain Sterling gets on top of you, though.
That's nice knee there.
Holy
yeah, that
smoke.
shoulder, as people are saying, that shoulder's done.
It's done. Yeah, I think he won. Didn't the fight just get stopped due to this? What was that?
It was
fight?
the Jeremy Kennedy fight, wasn't it?
Thank you. Against Aaron Pico. Good call.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do in this situation. Can you fight on?
If it's actually out...
Oh, just put it back in. I think Dwayne Ludwig just straightened the thing out and hit it.
Yeah, maybe. Doctor's looking at the wrong shoulder?
No, that's the left.
Almost looks like a little bit of a smile on Dillashaw's face there.
You're probably saying to yourself, well, it can't get any worse than that. At least I can move my left arm now.
Ugh.
Was it? Yeah.
Was it when he posted
I
up?
don't know if I want to watch this. Oh, no.
No, that's not that bad.
Shoulder pop back in. I dislocated my middle finger once, but I've never broken a bone. I've never dislocated anything, but yeah. Middle finger on the right hand. Just got a lot of scar tissue on it now.
All right, we get set for round number 2. Mark Goddard's going to see if they're all right. Dillashaw.
Oh, yeah, he's good. That's pretty badass, I'm not going to lie.
He got 10-8 in the first round.
At least he can use his arm now. He couldn't do that until 30 seconds ago.
All right, round number 2. Sterling Dillashaw. Big round for the champion there.
Aljo has good cardio, but we have seen him work at a really high work rate in the past and then suffer late in a fight as a result. I go back to the Pedro Munoz performance.
Dillashaw is looking to try and wing out of both stances with his right arm, and he's not throwing his left at all. So it's definitely still compromised.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Really winging that right hook a lot. Not a lot of setups behind it, though, so we're probably going to see a much more kick-heavy attack from TJ. But he does look to have full range of motion, but you're right. There must just be a lack of confidence behind really throwing anything behind it.
Yeah, kind of a surprise to see that Sterling's not circling towards the opposite side. Nice takedown attempt from Sterling here.
Good job by Sterling to get back on top.
Oh, man, that's a big ground and pound shot.
But that's the thing about Aljo. Again, yeah, he can't get reckless, Pablo. I agree 100%. If he does waste his gas tank, TJ could have some of those just smart, savvy veteran rounds, round 3, 4, and 5, to where he's just inching them out. This fight gets a lot closer than it appears to be so far. So, again, Aljo still has to fight in a composed manner.
Sterling holding the action down to the mat. Working here from a half guard, but he can't get much offense off when he's so far on the lower body. Dillashaw trying his best, but he can only push with that one arm. He's not doing anything with his left.
No, it's really trying to post defensively with that left arm, and that's about it.
Yeah, he's gonna
I use it a little bit now, but you're right. We haven't really seen nearly as much range of motion from it. As he tries to roll, Sterling just all over him, though.
Just doing such a good job is Aljamain Sterling holding this fight down to the mat in an area where we normally see TJ Dillashaw excel.
Again, though, if you thought Sterling was going to win this fight, you probably had to favor him in at least some of these grappling exchanges. But just all over him. Threatening with submissions, ground and pound, making him work.
Oof. Ground and pound here. 3 minutes remain in round number 2. Nice elbows from Sterling. Dillashaw trying to get back up.
Might see Sterling threaten with a guillotine, though.
Sterling in on that choke.
Might throw a knee, too, offensively. Ooh, Darce choke, though. I didn't see the grip on the opposite hand.
Ooh, Dillashaw's out.
That was a great job by Dillashaw to roll defensively.
These guys are not fighting a 5-round pace.
They're not.
Oh, his arm's done.
Yeah,
or is it?
Nice. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, Craig. Never claimed to be one.
Dillashaw's got nothing.
Really having a hard time with that arm. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I wouldn't be,
That was a nice takedown by Aljo, though. Making him think up high and then grabbing him with that back leg.
Hand fighting in the trip. But, yeah, by chance saying this is hard to watch, if you're a corner, you got a 36-year-old legend. Do you throw the towel in? It's MMA. The answer is no, but...
He's got a 36-year-old legend, though, so maybe he lands a head kick.
Yeah, there's always the questions around that. About 2 minutes remain here in round number 2. It's been all Sterling in this fight.
But if his shoulder pops out every single round, I couldn't imagine in the 4th round Mark Otter's going to be looking at them readjusting it for the 3rd time and him just letting this fight continue.
Let me bang, bro.
Like, I think at a certain point they are going to reach a point to where they will stop it, but I think up until now you're still feeling okay. Not great.
Sterling
Not
looking
good.
to try and hook it in. He's got mount now, and he's going to hammer away here up against the cage.
Sterling, is it?
Great hammer fist here, like he's Brock Lesnar.
Heavy shots, too. Looking
Neck
for the
crank.
choke. Oh, elbow from...
Oh.
Oh, my goodness. These are heavy shots.
Not much more of this is going to be feasible for TJ Dillashaw.
This reminds me of, like, prime Gregor Gillespie, you know?
Oscar's saying throw in the towel. That's got to be it. That's the end of the fight. Aljamain Sterling.
Really good.
And still. Man, hey! That Sean O'Malley fight's going to be pretty cool.
That's going to be a big fight, too, and it does happen, because Aljamain Sterling is coming off of a very one-sided performance. I know there's still going to be question marks, of course, surrounding the injury sustained to TJ Dillashaw and the arm, but you can't blame Aljamain Sterling for something that happened during the fight. So, again, really nice job by Sterling. I thought he looked phenomenal in that top position. I thought his grappling looked really good. I was surprised to see him get the fight to the mat with such ease, but again, you can probably point to the arm injury of TJ Dillashaw to a large part of that, but if Aljamain Sterling could just keep on fighting in that manner, like, I know what I'm good at, which is, I volume strike into my takedown attempts, I get on top of my opponents, and I might not submit them, but I'm gonna pound them with some ground and pound until I can open up that area. I just think it's a really nice, it's just a great game plan and skill set to see out of a champion,
And we'll see out of Dillashaw, too. I see Debbie saying retirement, or hashtag retirement, but for Dillashaw, if it is to continue, I mean, a fight with Fiorot wouldn't be terrible, but if you do look at it for Dillashaw, in the comeback, I mean, a close fight and a big injury against Corey Sandhagen his last time out, where he wins by split, and then in this one, injury and he loses by TKO. Couple of tough fights, and Russ Gaudette saying pound for pound conversation.
And the thing is, too, for a guy like TJ Dillashaw at this stage of his career, like, do you think he wants to go back and fight like Son Yadong, Marlon Vera, like some of the other young, dangerous fighters in this division? I don't.
No, and pound for pound is a stupid ranking system.
It's a fun
because
conversation.
Kamaru Usman's number 4 and Leon Edwards is number 6.
I know, you can disagree with parts of it, but I think pound for pound as a total, it's a fun conversation.
Yeah, it's fun. That one's just
I agree. I think
where...
Volkanovski is number 1 in the world. I think Adesanya is probably number 2 at this point. I think Aljo might slip in there to... He's probably going to go above Leon Edwards. He might be number 5 with Francis.
Yeah, and Stipe they have is formerly unranked. He's 15th, but he hasn't fought in forever.
And Poirier's number 8.
Piotr 13. Jan's going to be out of it. So, yeah. Big win there. Malone Hart's not cool with it. Doesn't love it. But I think he's looked great in his last 2 fights.
Exactly.
You can't really deny him after that one.
You're right, Malone Hart, I agree with everything you're saying. Yes, did he kind of look for a way out in the first one? Potentially. He was getting beat up bad by Piotr Jan in that first fight. But if you want to tell the whole story of everything from that fight until right now, yes, he got beat up in the first fight, but he also beat up Piotr Jan in the second one and made huge adjustments, and then he looked really good in his first title defense. So I don't think you can take anything away from Aljamain Sterling.
Last leg, hedging it now. Yeah, you got a big-time main event coming up. I mean, holy smokes. You got Charles Oliveira taking on a very good fighter in Islam Makhachev. The only loss, it was quite a while ago at Adriano Martins.
I just never like it in sports when people immediately point to what the loser could have done better than giving praise to what the winner just did. That's when I felt like a lot of people were overshadowing Bilal Muhammad in the fight against Sean Brady. It was okay. Well, you beat Vicente Luque. Nobody was really impressed by the manner in which you beat Vicente Luque, but a win's a win at the end of the day. And he was still able to express a really high-level skill set in that fight, and that's kind of how I've been looking at Sterling lately, too. You might not love the way that he's doing it. You might not love the way that he was able to acquire the belt, but his skill set at this point is quite undeniable. No, Malone, you're right. Again, that's a good point. Again, I can't disagree with you. I'm just saying, if you think he was an actor in the first fight, you still have to give him his flowers for how good he looked in the rematch.
You get those total numbers. I mean, look at that. 137-9 are the total strikes. They weren't very close, but then we get set for the main event, number 1 versus number 4, Islam Makhachev. His last win was over a guy who was not ranked.
So, my best friend lives in Wales. Shout out to my buddy Colby. And he was watching the fights today. Not a long time MMA viewer. Really only knows them because we live together. And again, he is my best friend. But he texted me and asked me, okay, do you think O'Malley deserved the win? We all agreed we thought Jan won. Interesting. That's all. Just getting more people's perspective on that fight. Again, I thought it was a really close fight. I'm kind of surprised that people are so polarized by what the result is. I'm firmly of the mindset that there's a lot of close fights. There's like 10% of all fights that other people could win. I put that fight into that category.
Phoenix saying best pay-per-view of the year? Yeah, I don't think so.
On paper, I feel like the lineup was one of those lineups that you look at and you get really excited for all the fights. But I think other prelims have delivered a little bit more with their entertainment value. Not take anything away from the athletes that are on this card, of course. I just feel like this card took a little bit to get started, but I think the main card's been really good. I've been thoroughly
Diaz Ferguson was really good, and I know that was just the last one. Usman Edwards was all right. Adesanya Cannonier wasn't terrible. You go back to
Teixeira Prochazka was insane because of the main event.
Yeah, 274 was really big.
Yeah.
Oliveira versus Gaethje. Esparza gets the win. It's not a fun fight, but Chandler Ferguson was good.
Poirier Oliveira was a big one. I forget the number, but that was a big event too.
That Royval fight that you had there against Matt Schnell. That was a fight in the night, and it was a one-round fight. Yeah, I thought before this card, this was going to be the best one of the year, and it's been all right. Dillashaw talking with Daniel Cormier. Always weird when somebody loses by TKO and they decide to interview them, but...
That wasn't like he got flatlined, though. The ref stopped it because he couldn't get out of the position.
So is Dariush or O'Malley fight of the night? I'm thinking O'Malley. Yeah, I'd say O'Malley was fight of the night. That was a really good one.
I would agree with that, especially how that second round got off, too. Like, O'Malley hurting Jan coming back and really hurting O'Malley worse. I just think that was a really fun back-and-forth fight.
Ladies' fights were mediocre. Jeez, I thought Chookagian Fiorot was good. It was close. That was a good fight.
Neither fighter landed like the most.
Hossa Landsberg wasn't great. Malone Hart with Super Chat. Should be lawyers. Differing opinions without being offensive or offended.
I know.
Well, and that's the other thing. You can't get too mad. Like, if we pick one that's totally, like, way off the wall wrong, you're going to hear from everybody and their dog in the comment section. If we get one right where we're totally off the wall, it's crickets. It always is. So you just got to keep it level. Not get too riled up. TJ Dillashaw.
Wonder if he's retiring. We don't even have subtitles on right now for...
You can't.
Oh, you can't?
You can't from right there. You got to go like this. I think, yeah, you can't.
Okay.
No subtitles.
I wonder if he was retiring, that's all. I didn't see him take off his gloves or anything, and it would be weird for TJ to retire in the Etihad Arena, but...
Yeah, you'd think, like, maybe they wait for California card or something.
Exactly. Denver, I think, is where he lives now.
The gloves are off. You'd assume that's probably
See,
retirement.
I didn't see it. It makes sense, though. Again, it's hard to ask a guy like TJ Dillashaw, hey, you want to fight again, like Song Yadong and then Marlon Vera, and then maybe if you beat both those guys, you can get another title shot. Like, there's a long road back to the title if you're a guy like Dillashaw, just because there's so many good fighters in the division.
Phoenix saying if you switched Muhammad and the Chookagian fight, it could be the best card of the year. I don't think that makes a difference, and I'm looking at it as a whole.
West build is the best. Bilal versus Sean. That was a really good fight, though, honestly. I really like Bilal Muhammad, Sean Brady. Not just because we picked the underdog. I just thought that was a fun fight for as long as it lasted. I thought Sean Brady's striking looked decent, though, up until he got finished, too.
Oh, man. Like, yeah. For Sean Brady, it's a weird one, too. Like, where do you put him next? Because he hasn't faced the highest level of competition coming ahead. But the guys that he's beat look great. He looked great in that case.
I think he is in one of those weird positions, too, where if you give him an unranked fighter, he destroys them and, like, makes them look like they're levels below him. But I don't know how much further ahead you can go in the rankings as you see Leon Edwards.
They need to find him a CR Bahadurzada type.
They do.
Just a guy like that. Sensei Steven Seagal.
He'll throw people around.
I don't even know why they'd show him on television. You've got Alexander Volkanovski, who recently spit into a shoe and gave it to another man.
Who's hanging out with the Korean Zombie this week. Nice to see those guys get along. The thing about Volkanovski, no real, like, rivalries in the UFC, you know? It feels like every champion has that one fighter. Yeah, but every champ has that one fighter where it's like, oh, there's additional security when they're both on the card together. But, like, Volkanovski and Max Holloway had one of the most famous trilogies two fighters have ever had in the UFC, and, like, there's no animosity whatsoever. They seem cool. Him and Brian Ortega are boys.
So we have a look at this fight, Matt, and I'm going to bring it up on Best Fight Odds, and I'll just talk on it for just a second. Makhachev open minus 300, minus 189. Oliveira open plus 250, plus 157. We have a look at the fan vote over on the Instagram, 65% Oliveira. You look here in YouTube, 60% going with Islam Makhachev. So, again, I've seen the majority of the fans go with Oliveira throughout the week. That kind of differs with the chat.
This is the first time I think the votes have sided with mine.
That's what I've seen out there, so I'll throw it on over to this view, because for me, again, fans going Oliveira, the odds are on Makhachev, but they've started to stray towards Oliveira. So a lot of people getting behind the champ has a name.
He does.
Charles Oliveira. Again, more past the victory, but if you're seeing an Islam Makhachev win, what do you see? Takedown from jump and that's it? Oh my god, they're doing the stupid slap fight thing.
I'm telling you guys this right now. If anybody ever asked me to break down a slap fight, I'm not doing it.
Never gonna do it on this channel.
Never, ever.
Yeah, we're never gonna break down.
I'm gonna talk about basketball before I talk about slap fighting. You have no idea how little
you can't
I care.
defend somebody slapping you, giving you head trauma? Yeah, I'd really like to watch that.
Okay. I think that's a bad argument against it, though. We both love boxing, MMA, and football, and those sports just breed the exact same thing. So, like, I don't really think you can call out slap fighting if we both really like MMA. What I will say, because the level of athletes nowhere the same. Like, yes, you might not be able to defend yourself, but they look like dart players. Like, Francis Ngannou isn't getting into professional slapping, luckily. I just think it's stupid. I don't care. There's no level of competition that, like, really interests me in that. It's not like Giannis is going up against 5 people and, like, trying to figure it out mentally and matching that with his physical strengths. These just people slapped each other. You can go to any bar in any city in the world and probably witness a very similar level of entertainment. I just don't care at all. I don't even care about bare knuckle boxing. I've never watched that.
I'm away in Curry. Y'all stoked for power slap? Not a freaking chance.
I like boxing. Like MMA. I don't watch a lot of kickboxing.
And I don't watch a lot of grappling.
Don't watch a lot of grappling. Every now and then I'll see who wins the big tournaments and whatnot, but that's about it. Just because, again, a lot of that's tied into MMA, so you'll kind of catch it. But yeah, I really just stick to boxing, MMA, and I love basketball, and the season's back. Thank goodness.
Charles Oliveira, Islam Makhachev. You got Poirier, Gaethje sandwiched between a Michael Chandler hanging out in 5th place in the division, but Chandler Poirier's fight coming up at UFC 281.
If there was a Spank Fighting Championship, OSP would never lose. OSP might be the thickest man walking the face of the earth.
He's got a fight coming up against Alexander Gustafsson.
Is it a heavyweight or light heavyweight?
You'd think heavyweight.
You would. That's why I'm asking, though, because if they're making them cut weight for no reason, that's weird.
Jack likes EBI tournaments and Rebel Reseller. Likes Gordon Ryan. He won the ADCC.
I like baseball. Goodness, tickle in my throat. I'm excited for this fight, though. It should be really fun.
Charles Oliveira, obviously the conversation on the stool before his last fight, weighed in at 155.5. No issues for this one. A pound under that. Both guys for this fight at 154.5. And for Islam Makhachev, questions around the weigh-ins, of course. As always, he definitely had that catch weight in his last time at 160 pounds because he was originally due to be facing Beneil Dariush on short notice to benefit Bobby Green. It was at 160 pounds, and he cut through him like a hot knife through butter.
You got it right, thank you.
Like a hot knife through butter. He got him.
Normally it's a knife through hot butter, which would just be a liquid.
How do you like that sound effect? I'm kind of surprised that I got it.
Wow, we're getting into a new business.
Wow.
You just redesigned this room. We're throwing like lettuce at the walls and stuff to recreate raindrops.
Maybe sound effects could be my thing, yeah.
Craig has a new ASMR channel debuting next week.
Not a damn chance, but Will Pancake will probably follow slap fights. You'll follow them, you won't follow them on this channel.
Yeah. There's other sports that are pretty good.
For Islam Makhachev, though, again, we talk about how much he's continued to dominate a lot of these fighters, and we haven't really touched on it in terms of divisional significance because he hasn't fought that level of competition just yet, and that's the biggest thing for him. I mean, 22-1, who's he beaten? Habib kind of went through that for a very long time, but if you consider it in the UFC, beats Leo Kuntz, who had that one fight in Korea that was
paid his opponent to loss, and he still beat him.
Yeah, over in Korea, it got weird for Leo Kuntz. Then Makhachev loses to Martins. He beats Chris Wade, Nick Lentz, Gleison Tebow, Cajun Johnson, Armin Zarukian, Davi Hamosh, Drew Dober, Thiago Moises, Dan Hooker, and Bobby Green. So a giant step up for Makhachev. Giant.
It is a huge step up.
Styles make fights. That's why this is a fun one.
And at a certain point, every fighter is going to have to make that one really big step up. Now, normally you do see that happen before they get to a title shot, but Makhachev, it's not like anyone disagrees with the fact that he's in this fight right now. When you open as the favorite, even though you're fighting the champion, even though I know Oliveira doesn't currently have the belt, it just goes to show how much respect, I should say, Makhachev has amongst casual MMA fans and MMA fans as a whole. I just think his grappling is a lot more physically strenuous than what Charles Oliveira does on the mat. So maybe that means that as this fight goes late, we might see Makhachev slow down, and we might see Oliveira really pick up steam. But I just think Makhachev's overall top control and dominance in that one area is going to be really difficult for Oliveira to create that separation from bottom to then work his own submission game. Of course, on the feet, we all know how good Oliveira is. He's a much more technical guy. He's the much more heavy-handed of these two strikers. So I can see Oliveira winning this fight 10 different ways, but I still just think that one tried and true way that Islam uses in his fights, the wrestling style that he does possess, is going to be enough to win this fight.
Going with old Islam. And I mean, yeah, that's going to be the awkward thing, Jack. And we haven't really touched on it. But, of course, if Takugov did fight Lucas Almeida, it would have been Zuba, Zuba until the cows come home. In this one, it's going to be a weird listen if it's on the UFC broadcast. So I'm eager to hear about it on the rewatch. But I'm sure you're going to hear a lot about Islam Makhachev, who got the win over Gleison Tebow, who, of course, beat Rory McDonald in real life. That happened. That really happened.
Rory McDonald. I brought up Jamal Moshburn. I brought up Steve Francis. Brandon Roy had a softer fall from grace than Rory McDonald.
Rory Mac. When it went bad, it went bad.
When it rains, it pours, as they say.
Charles Oliveira, Islam Makhachev for the belt at 155 pounds. And if you asked me 2.5, 3 years ago if I ever thought this fight was going to happen for a belt, I would have said, no, you're a liar. But here we are. Will's got a mixture of Oliveira and Makhachev. Makhachev making the walk in the blue corner.
Am I the only one who feels like it's 2 a.m. in the morning right now?
Yeah, it's 5:33.
That's what I mean. It's just like right now I'm watching fights. It's the main event. Normally I'm thinking like, okay, am I going to go to bed right now or watch a show before I go to bed? Right now it's like, do I go to dinner after? Like, what am I going to do with all this time?
Get ready for Allen versus Cater. That's what I'm going to do.
That'll be a fun card.
I'm going to watch more fights after this is over.
I think it's a beautiful day, actually, so...
Looks like it's still bright out.
I think so.
Through the blackout
check
curtains.
the window really quick. Or check the weather.
It's really, really warm, though, at this
18
point.
18 degrees. You'll love to see that.
Just a nice day.
A lot cooler up here this time of the year, but we're getting, 2-3 really nice days a week, and that's good enough.
Frosty saying he almost walked out to Steve Blackman's theme from WWE. I don't know who that is.
I don't either. I don't follow a lot of wrestling nowadays. Does Sting still compete?
I don't know. There was the
90.
comeback. Yeah.
That was always cool. Sting was old when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Now in my early
Goldberg
20s.
was old when you were a kid, and then he came back.
I like how any interview I've ever seen with Bret Hart, they're like, Bret, is the sky blue? And he's like, I hate Goldberg. You have no idea. And they're like, oh, what do you get when you go to McDonald's? And then he's like, I swear to God, if I see that Goldberg... Brett, who do you think's going to win the World Series? I don't know, but I see Mike Goldberg in the stands.
Bill.
It's gonna be
Bill
Goldberg.
Bill.
But if I see Bill Goldberg in the stands, it's going to be trouble. Just no matter what happens, it's like a blood feud. They're like the Hatfield McCoys at this point.
Bret Hart.
A guy
Beat
who
cancer.
holds grudges. He did beat
cancer.
cancer, though, so shout out Bret Hart. So did Jordan Montgomery, and that's why I thought he was going to be really good against the Astros. But here we are, and the Yankees are down 0-2. Bottoms up and the devil laughs.
Oh, Frosty, we love 90s wrestling. Don't get me wrong about that one. I don't know who that is.
Big Edge and Christian fan, big Jeff and Matt Hardy guy.
We had the Raw 25th anniversary box set, and I love watching the Rockers.
The old TLC matches with Jeff Hardy, the Beastie.
Gonna hit you with that drop kick, Marty Jannetty, just like Action Bronson. That's a good song.
The Dudleys, that's who it was. The Dudleys had the funniest backstory. They'd be like, well, their father owns a construction company. That's why they've got all these tables. And they'd always say something stupid like, where's Dudleyville? I think it's right next to Parts Unknown. I really want to use the F word right now.
The Boogeyman with his
the worms. That was weird. Ugh.
Sabu and what was the other guy? The Sandman?
The Sandman just did handfuls of Percocets and then would just do the craziest things you've ever seen in your life. The Sandman, yeah, he'd do a handful of Quaaludes and jump off the building into barbed wire. You're like, but Sandman, why? For the love of the
entertainment,
game.
for Tommy Dreamer. This is extreme.
Mick Foley walks like he's Fat Joe doing the lean back, and people are like, do you regret putting your body on the line? He's like, no. This is sports entertainment.
People are.
He made his bed. He got into it.
Stuff. I remember watching ECW. What was that? Tuesday night?
It
was Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it was Tuesday. And just the stuff those guys would do.
I vividly remember. Well, everybody
Well,
thinks...
you look a lot like Colin Delaney.
Who's Colin Delaney?
He was on ECW. If Frosty knows ECW, he knows Colin Delaney.
I just remember how everybody thinks when Mick Foley gets thrown off the Hell in the Cell, they think that's the end of the match. It gets worse for Mick Foley. He then gets chokeslammed through thumbtacks in the middle of the cage, and that's, like, really messed up.
Well, you'd watch those, like, there was that one ECW, it was Mick Foley, Tommy Dreamer, who's the old guy? Terry Funk. And then there's, like, baseball bats with barbed wire, thumbtacks. They throw lighter fluid on tables that are wrapped in barbed wire, light them on fire. Yeah, that wasn't good stuff. For impressionable kids, that's a tough watch.
Yeah, Mankind did seem like a serial killer. He was terrifying. He'd do that soft thing
Mr.
in your
Sacco.
mouth. That was scary stuff.
Frosty, of course, and from Pennsylvania, ECW territory. Charles Oliveira making a walk.
Hugging every blonde-haired man in the arena as he walks.
There's a lot of them.
There is. I think my hair is too long for it, but if I ever went really short with the hair, I'll dye it platinum blonde like Charles. I've never considered it.
Daniel Willycat, everybody just hugs and kisses for the boy.
Listen, you and your boys don't huddle in a circle in a bathroom around your best friend. Charles Oliveira does with his boys.
Nate Schmidt, do we have fight of the year or top here? Or quick finish? Play blue line. Play blue line for the Canucks. Worry about that, Nate Schmidt. Boys, he got it done when he was playing for Vegas, so I'll tell you that much. Charles Oliveira putting the mouth guard in. Punch Face VIP. It was at an AEW event on Tuesday.
Oh, cool.
Heel in the main event legit got taken off on a stretcher. Ooh, yeah. I remember we went to the one WWE in Fredericton in 2008.
Chuck Palumbo.
Was it Matt Stryker? In like the first
You need to remember the story, Craig, if you're going to retell it.
Well, Matt Stryker loses the match. He's still in the ring. It's like a few minutes after it's over, and then I stood up and yelled, "You rock, Stryker!"
I think you said you loved him,
and he found me, and gave me the point.
And that set Craig on the career path that he is on right now. That completely altered his life course.
Thanks, Matt Stryker. Charles Oliveira. Finally in the cage. We get set for our main event. I've had too many bio steals, so I'd like it if it ended quickly.
I was going to say, I don't think you can OD on bio steel. You just get hydrated.
I just got to use it.
Charles Oliveira, is he the friendliest man?
Well, Daniel Cormier loves Islam Makhachev. I'm sure he's bullish on the high fives and the hugs. He and Paul Felder aren't fans of that. Will Pancake, I want round 1 KO by Charles. New era.
That'd be wild to see.
How much did they spend on the camp? I don't know.
I don't have the ins and outs. I know in boxing the promoter pays for it. There's a fun fact.
Jack Blah, going for my second exact same call. Charles takes his back and chokes him out.
All right, Jack.
There, I said it. Charles Oliveira, Islam Makhachev. Crazy to think that Charles is only 2 years old.
I just keep on going back to the fact, though, that you can't be as entertaining as Charles Oliveira is and have a long reign as champion at the top of the division. It's impossible. Who's the last champion who is as exciting as he is? I genuinely can't. Oh, perfect. He just became champion.
John Jones.
Defended.
John Jones. No, powers.
Not even close. He was never that entertaining. John Jones didn't stop people. He would just fight to decisions a lot.
Phoenix, that's not how this works.
Like, Charles Oliveira gets dropped and then comes back to stop his opponents. Jason Herzog, best in the business. You like to see it?
Let some fence grabs go in the yawn fight against Sean O'Malley.
Well, he should probably get fired then. Never work in the UFC.
Charles Oliveira. Blonde hair. Tallest man in his corner for the commission. He was there for the last card over that way. Frosty. Oliveira didn't turtle up when he became champion. He's a wild man.
He is.
Doesn't fight safe.
Not at all. And that's why everybody loves Charles Oliveira. Which is wild. I remember, I don't know if this statistic is still the case, but at one point, Charles Oliveira had the most bought pay-per-view this year. Like, it outbought Israel Adesanya. It had done really well. So, I do think Oliveira has this, like, weird appeal to him just because of how entertaining he is inside the cage. And I know that can only really take you so far. Look at a guy like Anderson Silva compared to, like, Conor McGregor. Both very big stars in their own right, and especially in their own eras. But Conor was able to take it to another level because of his skills outside the cage, of course, and that he can speak very fluent English. The thing about Oliveira is he is starting to get some of those fans, though, who just watch MMA for MMA, and they just like watching Oliveira fight. And that's cool. That's really fun to see. I like that.
Yeah, for Makhachev, I can't stress this one enough. Like, you look at the takedown defense of Charles Oliveira, and it's not squeaky clean. It's not like Bilal Muhammad coming into his fight against Sean Brady. Bilal already had really good takedown defense. Oliveira can get taken down. He can get held down a little bit. So that's a great opportunity for a Makhachev win, and we know exactly where his skill set belies him.
He's a very strong fighter at this weight class.
It's to a win that way.
He's jacked.
Incognito's very excited. His personality is very good.
He's very flamboyant, but he's not, like, cocky about it. He's just confident. Like, that's the good thing about Oliveira. He seems like, I hate it when people say this, he seems like a nice guy. But, like, Oliveira does seem like a nice guy. He does a lot of charity work. He's always in the gym, like, hanging out with people. We just saw him hug 55 people on his way to the cage. You'd think his mind would be on other things. So, yeah. Oliveira's a guy that you like to see do well.
That's a creepy sign. Just an odd sign that somebody's got in the crowd.
Well,
They had that printed off. They spent money on that. Father's plan. He's not his brother. He's still his son.
I still think, though, that that Khabib coming off, like, everything that he had gone through before he fought Justin Gaethje, he's the greatest fighter I've ever seen.
That was a big win.
Like, just the fight Khabib had against Gaethje, I think that, like, 6 minutes, however long it was, I think that's the best fighter we've ever seen in the cage.
Watched
Maybe a
Oliveira
hot
for
take,
10
but-
years. Loved him for a long time. I feel heartbreak's coming. A thunder in my heart.
Welcome to Heartbreak.
Champion has a name. The who?
No, well, he said Let's Champion has a name, so the replaces that.
That
Let's.
sign doesn't translate to a Western audience. No, it's not his father. All right, Matt, we get ready for the main event of the evening. Lightweight title on the line. Jason Herzog, our referee. Makhachev in the red corner.
Makhachev does look good physically leading up to this fight.
Oh, man, he's a big guy in the cage.
He is, isn't he? Yeah, he's got a really big upper body to him. That was something we were talking about when Sean Brady was fighting, but it's very apparent with Makhachev as well.
And Charles Oliveira taking a playbook, or a page out of the playbook of Fabrizio Verdum, jumping across with a big kick, like when he fought Travis Brown.
Good left hand out the gate by Makhachev, though.
Makhachev swinging hammers.
You can tell, though, that there is a drop in technique between the last couple opponents that Oliveira's fought in the feet, though, and Islam.
You still gotta watch out for the power and the wings.
It's just like the way Poirier throws his combinations, like everything's like rotating in his shoulders well.
Makhachev going for the takedown.
Oliveira might have even pulled guard there.
Yeah, and he's into Oliveira's guard. Now, we'll see who's able to get their work done because it's really early.
This is when the fight gets really interesting. Couple good ground and pound shots from Makhachev, but Oliveira's already getting his legs engaged into this. And that was the big point that I wanted to bring up about Kevin Lee earlier. Oliveira, unique style of grappler.
Oliveira? What?
I don't...
Was that like a showboat? Oliveira going for the arm. Makhachev getting through. Good elbow there for Oliveira off his back. But this is where Makhachev does his work. He's in the office now. He's punched the time card.
And it's hard to win a round off of your back. Oliveira's looked really good, all things considered. But again, Makhachev is going to have to do more too, I must say that. But I'm just going to be really curious to see what the grappling is going to look like throughout the length of this fight.
Makhachev's got his right arm held in place by Oliveira.
He's doing a good job, though, not putting his hands on the mat, because that's when you get trouble. You create a lot more leverage for your opponent. If you keep your elbows on the inside on their chest, it makes it so that they can't then isolate just a single limb.
Oliveira hanging out.
Couple good shots in the top by Makhachev. Hasn't really been able to get that much going. Went for a big ground and pound shot there, but Oliveira's doing a good job scrambling on his back and squirming when he has to.
Yeah, Makhachev really trying to get into a position, and now you have Oliveira just squirming for a leg, trying to get the back.
Charles back up to his feet. Great job by Dubronx.
Oliveira back up standing.
He's good in the clinch, too. We know how good his tie knees are. How good his elbows are, too, I should say.
Makhachev with his back up against the fence. Not necessarily a favorable spot for a big-time grappler.
Not at all.
Charles touching the cameraman.
He hugs him during the fight, too. I must get another.
Oh, takedown attempt.
What a hip toss by Islam. That was a really good job.
Khabib was all over it.
He was big into that.
He was fired up.
That's like a block by James to Khabib Nurmagomedov. That's like as good as it gets in sports.
Islam here in half guard.
That was a nice takedown, too.
Oliveira looking to try and isolate the arm.
And neither guy's really been able to pull apart from the other one. Again, you probably favor Islam in some of these moments just because he is the fighter on top, but Oliveira's been doing a really good job off his back, being active, being able to scramble out of some positions.
And a good job of getting the position from Makhachev. Obviously not doing much, but you're taking on a very, very good fighter who's on the back now.
Oh, 100%. Like, if you can have any success grappling with Charles Oliveira, I would consider that a win.
Makhachev hanging out here in the guard. Herzog watches.
But you see, the right arm of Makhachev's what he's going to watch out for right now. If Oliveira can isolate that and hook it and then shift his hips to the outside, that's when he can go for those arm bars.
Makhachev looking to stack here up against the fence. Could be a good opportunity for him.
You know, Mark Coleman's got to be happy about this, the godfather of ground and pound. He used to love getting guys in the corner of the cage before people learned how to walk up.
Round 3 of the AJ Dobson fight, he was yelling for feints. He wanted to see some feints out of his fighter who was losing. Minute 12 seconds remain here in round number 1. They're going to show you the top control time. We haven't had much going down in this top control time. Minute remains here in round number 1. Oliveira can't get any separation here. Oof.
Are we going to get a Luke Rockhold, Paulo Costa situation in this fight? Do you think there's going to be a lot of close mouth feeling with a lot of blood? Because that was weird. That was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in the UFC. And I watch a lot of fights.
Makhachev trying to stack again.
There was some good ground and pound by Makhachev, finally.
30 some odd seconds remain here in this first round. Oliveira looking to hold on like Wilson Phillips.
Missed a couple big elbows there, Makhachev did.
Oliveira looking to try and shift the hips to the side. Less than 15 seconds remain. Makhachev back up, stacking. Not really able to do much.
Oh! Big front kick by Charles.
The up kick from Oliveira, that landed.
That still seems okay. That was a big shot, though.
2 seconds left. Good spot for Oliveira. Not the end of the round. You'd think the judges are going to give that to Makhachev. Yeah. I'd say 10-9 for Makhachev. PPG, your sound is whack. Hey, PPG. How's it going, bud?
Maybe it is. Hopefully it's not.
No, it shouldn't. I mean, we're going to have a look here. Properties. No, we're on the good mic.
That's the up kick. It was.
Yeah, it was a good up kick right there. Ground and pound. Oliveira giving Felder. Yeah, Felder loves that. So you get a 10-9 for the challenger. He's been in 5-round fight. He get it done really quick. Not in this one today.
He got it done in the 4th round.
I mean Bobby Green. I was thinking of that fight.
Well, he's been in 2 5-round fights then.
Sound is fine. Some turkey just trying to get a good time off. All right, here we go. Round number 2, 155-pound title on the line.
That up kick reminded me a lot of when Gegard Mousasi fought Jacare and knocked him out with an up kick.
All right, round number 2.
Good fight, though, and the thing about Islam and his top control is that he did a good job with the positioning. It was nothing that makes you concerned for Oliveira, though, as this fight continues. You still feel like it's a position where he can also have his own success.
See if Oliveira can come back hard.
He has a hard right hand there, but I think he closed the distance a little bit too much. Sorry to cut you off.
Ooh, Makhachev landing a couple of good shots here.
Makhachev's got to watch out. He does like to lead with his head when he strikes.
Yeah, Oliveira trying for his own takedown here, looking to land some elbows in this clinch. And
elbow by Oliveira.
These are positions where we see Makhachev slice through a lot of the competition.
We really do, and it's interesting, too, because Oliveira is so good with the clinch offensively with his striking, but we see how Makhachev can just sort of negate that just by being such a strong wrestler in a lot of these positions. Doesn't really allow you the distance to play that game.
About a minute into our first bit of action here in the second round. Clinch work from Makhachev, not really able to land much in this position. He's just working for his own takedown. A couple of knees here from Oliveira.
Great takedown defense by Oliveira so far. Really putting up a lot of resistance.
And you like to see that against such a high-level takedown artist like Makhachev. That's the biggest part of his game, and Oliveira's passing a bit of the test right here.
And you must think that in Oliveira's mind, he thinks, okay, on the mat, let's just say on his worst day, on my worst day, we cancel each other out. On the feet, I still do believe Oliveira does have a big advantage.
Especially as the fight goes on.
100%. He does have deceiving power. The weird thing about thin guys, it makes no sense. Thin people with long arms hit harder. There is an equation for this. I'm not smart enough to actually give it to you. But there is like a way that you can tell for inches gained in reach does help your power. But Oliveira has it.
Back into space. Makhachev wasn't able to get the takedown. Minute and a half has passed. The shots are looking labored for Makhachev.
They definitely are. This is a great opportunity for Oliveira to have a lot of success.
Oh.
Good left hand, though, by Makhachev. Really baited him into it with his feet.
He faked me out.
But he needs more than just a single shot here or there. We know when Oliveira gets going, his striking's very high level.
Both guys just going after it in the striking.
Sort of the chaos, though, of some of the entries of Makhachev is making him difficult to hit clean for Oliveira.
Less than 3 minutes remaining here in this second round. Good first round for Makhachev, working that top control, though.
Really struggling with the takedown attempt, though, so far. Just two really high-level fighters.
Oliveira backed up behind the black line.
Good right hook after that left hand. He finally threw something after the left hand that lands as Makhachev.
About halfway through the second round. Nice head kick attempt there from Makhachev, partially blocked. Oliveira's got to get something going.
I like how Oliveira's not giving him big reactions, though, even when Makhachev's feigning for the takedown attempt. Even think back, I know Manon won his fight, but still, Manon at a certain point was having those big reactions, really going out and sprawling big for some of the takedown attempts at Gamrot, whereas Oliveira, a lot more confident with his initial takedown defense.
Oh, Oliveira's starting to land with some of his combinations. He's doing a good job of pressuring in this round as well.
He really is. It's interesting to see, too, because Makhachev's kind of...
Ooh.
Oh! Right hook by Islam. Oliveira went for a flying knee, did not have his feet set, and ate a big hook as a result.
Makhachev going for a head and arm triangle here.
This could be where the fight starts to shift. The momentum does.
Doesn't look like he has it in. Gonna give up the back is Oliveira. Oh, he taps! That's
wow.
it!
Charles Oliveira gets submitted by Islam Makhachev.
Don't change your picks. Islam Makhachev, the champion at lightweight. Habib is there for it all. What a win for Islam Makhachev. The knockdown, the submission, the finish.
Is Khabib going to get considerations for Coach of the Year all of a sudden?
Well, I mean, he went, 3-0 on the night tonight?
Really good night for Khabib. It's nice to see when MMA fighters do well outside of the cage when they're not fighting anymore after they retire, so shout out to Khabib for that. Great night, though. Good performance for Islam Makhachev. Hurt him on the feet, which, again, you knew was a possibility. We've seen Oliveira get hurt, but not by a guy like Islam Makhachev.
For the next title fight for Makhachev, you have to think they're going to go back to Yas Island. Like, you have to think the fight to try and sell, you're going to put him over there.
And there's a lot of great fights for Islam to have at this point, too. Like you had mentioned, we have Poirier versus Chandler's on the horizon. Beneil Dariush just had a great performance. The lightweight division has been stacked for, well, we had just mentioned, it's been a logjam for about 6 years. It's been stacked for an additional 20, so the division's in a great spot, and I think that was a really fun performance.
A giant win for Islam Makhachev, and I mean, listen, we touched on it earlier, but you have a giant fight coming up next weekend. Calvin Kattar is going to be taking on Arnold Allen in the main event. We touched on it a little bit as well. Tim Means, Max Griffin in the co-main event. It's one of those cards that has a lot of sneaky fights on it. Of course, Andre Arlovsky fighting his teammate in Marcos Rogerio de Lima, but overall, it's one of those ones that, I mean, is it going to get you as excited as UFC 280? Probably not. But there are definitely some really good fights on this one, especially for Kattar, coming off a really close split decision loss his last time out there to a guy in Josh Emmett who just went back into hiding again. Dustin Jacoby, Khalil Roundtree, and the like. There's some good ones on this one.
There's some fun fights on it, but that main event does steal the show. It's a phenomenal fight between two of the best fighters in the lighter weight divisions, I'd say. I'm not even going to limit it just to featherweight. There's the two great fighters who both need a big win, too. Kattar's had a lot of bites at the apple, if you will, but he hasn't necessarily been able to get over the hump. And for Arnold Allen, he's kind of been the hotness as of late. Looked great his last time out, and he was a fighter who really gained a lot of stock fighting on that hometown card in London. Put on a great performance against a really good fighter in Dan Hooker, so it'd be nice to see if Arnold Allen was able to continue his momentum to the top.
Well, a great opportunity for Kattar, for Allen. Make sure you tune in for that. That'll be coming out in the not so far away future. And thank you so much for tuning in with the Sidekick, with question mark kicks. A giant week for Fight Night picks, a giant week for Islam Makhachev, and the end still in the co-main event of Aljamain Sterling. Listen, it's a big time week of fights. Keep it locked in with Fight Night picks. As we always say,
let's get into it.